I have with me David Pakman. He is a progressive host and executive producer of the nationally syndicated radio and TV program, The David Pakman Show. And I wanted to talk to David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male.
Can you remind the audience, when you talk about being a beta male and being an alpha male, what are we talking about here?
There are males, most men today, male, they think and act like a woman. They are emotional, they are mentally off, they have no logic. And that's a beta male. They go along with homosexuality.
Hold on, whoa, Jesse, we got it. That's a lot.
LGBTQ.
That's a lot, hold on.
They agree with everything that's raw. Abortion, they think and act just like a woman. A beta male does. But a non-beta male doesn't, because he's a logical thinking. And they're controlled by the darkness of David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male. David, you're not here to communicate. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to let you go. It's a waste of time to talk to you. We're not communicating. You're acting like an idiot.
No, because you're asking bizarre questions.
You're acting like an idiot, and you're wasting my time. I appreciate you coming. All right, thank you for coming. Goodbye. Goodbye. Let him know. That's a progressive vote. All men who are progressive, or males who are progressive, are weak.
You gotta get them on, Pat. You gotta get them on.
Great to be here.
You gotta get them on, Pat. You gotta get them on. Get them on, 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 For the people that don't know, if you can take a quick moment, you got a massive YouTube channel. You got billions of views online. Your mom supports socialism or no?
No.
You like the fact that U.S. is liked more today?
No.
Think Hillary's good?
Did I say that? No.
But you're saying that the middle voter doesn't matter at all?
No. Tangent.
Keep going.
Tangent.
Seriously? Keep going.
Tangent.
Keep going.
Tangent.
Seriously? Keep going. What are you talking about? Keep going.
What are you talking about?
Keep going. What are you talking about? Keep going. What are you talking about? That's insane.
What? Failure. Patrick. Failure. What are you talking about? What? Failure.
That's not it.
Patrick. I think you're missing the picture.
I'm smelling bad. I'm not shaking.
You're not really doing this, are you?
Can I take a sip?
Is that an energy drink then?
It is owned by Tesla, by the way. It's Elon's drink. No, it's not. I don't.
All right, welcome everybody. It is night 2 of the Democratic National Convention. So great to see you again. We are in the middle of a ceremonial roll call vote, a brief interlude between speeches. But we have some big names tonight, which is why I'm so glad to see all of you. We are going to be hearing today pending schedule changes, canceled speeches, people going on much longer than they're supposed to, and the general chaos that seemed to grip the convention yesterday. If we don't have any of that stuff, we can expect to hear shortly from Senator Chuck Schumer, Senator Bernie Sanders, Governor J.B. Pritzker, Republican mayor of Mesa, Arizona, who has endorsed Kamala Harris, Mayor John Giles, Senator Tammy Duckworth, Doug Emhoff, the second gentleman, potentially the potential first husband of the United States. We will hear from former First Lady Michelle Obama, who I know there are right-wingers still insisting she will be the nominee. Maybe she will make it clear tonight that she's actually going to take over. And we will hear from former President Barack Obama. By the way, you guys remember this, right? Oh, hold on. Where is it? Oh, no. Did I lose it? Wait a second. Here it is.
Obama.
Okay. Very relevant today is the oranges of that, and they are here. Oh, wait a second. Sorry, we're muted. Unmute. Okay, here we go. Take a listen to this.
If Ted doesn't win, your Second Amendment's going to be in trouble. Big trouble. Remember that. O'Rourke voted against the border wall. Oh, that's a good thing to him. He voted against Kate's law, and he voted for Obama amnesty. Amnesty. Obama amnesty.
There you go. So that's where it came from. And my instinct is that we are going to be getting a fair bit of mileage from that tonight. So all building up to what is expected to be a very, very strong speech from former President Barack Obama. We will be looking at your super chats. I will be playing some voicemails. If you have anything about the convention that you want to get on the show, you can call 219-2-DAVID-P. That's 219-232-8437. And we will play some of those. Let's look at a couple of super chats that have come in here. Would love to hear more about your impressions of Harris when you met her. Congratulations on being invited. Yeah, listen, I've said it before. I sat down along with a few other creators with Kamala Harris back in March. I found her extraordinarily formidable, competent, able to, it's funny. The topic of AI, you know how Trump keeps getting confused between AI, crypto, and one other thing. I don't remember what else. And electricity. Trump keeps getting confused between AI, crypto, and electricity. And he just doesn't really seem to understand any of the three. AI actually was a topic of conversation with Kamala Harris, and she understood it. And so my point was, extraordinarily competent no matter what topics came up, and really great to speak to, and just no concerns of any kind with her being president of the United States. Will you agree with every single thing she'll do? Do you agree with everything, with anything anybody does, with everything any particular person does? No, probably not. But, listen, I'm going to play some more cognitive beauties from Trump in a bit. No concerns as far as that goes. That's for sure. Other super chats coming in. Chris says, do I think 25% unrealized gain tax is a good or bad strategy? I think it's a bad strategy, in particular because it's not clear to me that we have the legal framework for it. Now, you could change the legal framework to make it legal, but that is a much bigger hill to climb. And also any situation that would potentially force people to sell assets, illiquid assets, to cover a tax seems like not a particularly good idea to me. I've talked about other ways to capture tax revenue. Let's see what else we have here. Nemo Nova says, on behalf of Caleb T, thank you. Illinois voter here, go JB. He saved women's choice in Illinois. Yeah, we will be hearing from JB Pritzker momentarily, which I am very, very much looking forward to. All right, let's listen a little bit to what's going on here on the floor of the DNC. You see Senator Raphael Warnock there. You see Lil Jon. Let's listen.
Send Kamala Harris to the White House. She'll fight for our freedom to vote, our reproductive freedoms.
All right, so everything going really well, and we will stay tuned, and the speakers are going to resume very, very shortly. I want to say thank you to Jason Sickmeyer for gifting a subscription on my website. Welcome to everybody watching on Twitch as well as Facebook. Our intention is also to be streaming on Twitter. Let me see and verify if that's going on. It is going on. Welcome to everybody watching on Twitter, or as it is now known, X, where things are happening on X, many of them horrible. But we are there, and we will be monitoring all of it. As the roll call continues, and we're still a few minutes from the resumption of speeches, I have a little something funny to show you. This is so funny. Trump appeared on the Theo Von podcast. I guess it's today. And this is really funny. Last Monday, Trump did this two and a half hour excretion on X with Elon Musk. And it sounded like he was slurring through the entire thing. They've since blamed that on some kind of audio processing. And in this video, Trump says there was something about the technology that made him sound like he was struggling with his S's. But in this video, he is struggling with his S's. You can't make this stuff up. Take a listen to this.
We had an exciting event the other night with Elon Musk and me.
I listened.
We had a pretty big audience for that one. I can
See,
judge.
yeah, on audience, it sounds like he's saying audience. Are we to believe that he is also slurring here because of an audio processing problem, despite the fact that he seems to be speaking into a Shure SM7B, the standard mic? I have one here. Everybody uses this mic. It doesn't seem to create a slurring issue. I guess I don't know what kind of down the line voice processing is here. But while Trump claims he's having no issue with S's, he's struggling with S's.
Yeah, I listened for probably about like 20 minutes. I thought it was cool. It was. I think the tough part was just like it would have been neat if you guys could have been in the same spot, you know. But I still thought it was exceptional.
I heard the audio was great, and actually they put out a clear tape of it because they had clear tape.
Oh, nice.
They had so many millions and millions of people watching, like record numbers of people. And I'm trying to figure out, we're on a cell phone, or I was. And, you know, that's a lot of people coming into a cell phone one way or the other.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? It's a lot of people coming into the cell phone one way or the other. What does that even mean? Does Trump think everyone is on his phone? Like, does Trump think the entire X audience was on a phone call with him throughout the entire thing, and maybe that caused the problem?
But I heard some people had a problem with the audio. I don't know. I don't do that thing. You know, that was done. And we had a great conversation. It was for 2 hours and 15 minutes. They just put out a clear tape of it, a perfect tape of it. But yeah, I sounded, I think I
yeah, Theo Von's got to go back and listen to 2.5 hours a second time.
Somebody said your voice was distorted or something. And you know, I guess it happens. Look, it was
He's slurring in this interview.
Big thing, such a big audience. But I would have loved to have seen the clear tape originally. They put it out right after the show, so now it's a clear.
Man, I mean, it's like, it's phlegm, it's everything. It's really, really wild stuff what's going on. So anyway, not exactly clearing anything up, I guess. And Trump, as usual, confused about how technology works. I want to say thank you to Senator Larry Craig and Joseph Schlepko for signing up on my website. Welcome to everybody. Welcome to everybody on all platforms. It is night 2 of the Democratic National Committee. We will shortly be hearing from Senator Bernie Sanders. Here is Governor J.B. Pritzker, who will also be speaking.
Obama! The birthplace of skyscrapers and the adopted home of Superman! The cornerstone of the Midwest Blue Wall! The first state to ratify the 13th Amendment ending slavery! Obama! And the 19th Amendment granting women the right to vote. Illinois casts 1 vote present and 176 votes for the next president of the United States, future Madam President Kamala Harris.
Wow. Extremely powerful stuff. And of course, this is completely perfunctory and ceremonial, as Kamala Harris has already been nominated, as far as I know, through a formal process that already took place. Not to burst anyone's bubble, but just in the interest of accuracy this evening. It's an important thing to mention. What's the music? Oh, any Chicago Bulls fan would know what that music is. That is the music from the starting lineups for the 1990s era Chicago Bulls, featuring Michael Jordan, for 6 different NBA championships, 91, 92, and 93. And then 96, 97, and 98, I believe. I actually remember the day that it was announced that Michael Jordan was returning to the NBA. We were vacationing in Florida, not Florida. No. We were in Florida. And I believe Jordan's first game back was against the Indiana Pacers. And he wore number 45 for that game. And hopefully that memory is accurate. People can go and fact check me. I might have just blended 6 different things together. I mean, I was like 9 years old at the time. Okay, so you can't blame me if I'm not getting it exactly right. Okay, let's continue. I do want to get to just a couple of voicemails, but I have so many other clips to play. I did want to mention that when we started this convention yesterday, Kamala Harris's lead in an average of recent polls was 1.4. So in a couple of weeks, when we say let's gauge the overall effect of this convention, we would have that 1.4 number as the kind of baseline. She's now leading by 1.5. So nothing much has happened yet. None of these polls are obviously from after the convention started. So we're going to give it some time, but we are ultimately going to get all of that information, which I think is going to be, it'll allow us to just say, here is what the effect of the DNC was. And that's really kind of the whole point. Nathan Hoffman says the Bulls song is from the Alan Parsons Project. If that's true, I didn't know that. And if someone just got me to say something silly that makes no sense, well, you did it. I don't know whether that's true or whether it's not. All right, let's check out a couple of voicemails. And if you have anything you'd like to get on the air, you can call 219-2-DAVID-P. Let's take a listen.
Hey, David. This is Nikki from Colorado. And I was just watching today's show covering last night's first night of the DNC, and I just wanted to make a comment really quick about the enthusiasm I saw on the floor, which is the same enthusiasm that I have felt since Kamala has been kind of handed over to, okay, let's redo this one.
Yes, enthusiasm. I mean, yes, without a doubt, the enthusiasm was palpable. Let's see.
David Packman, sir, it's Matthew from Las Vegas. A couple things. Number one, do you think when Kamala Harris wins on November 5th, of course we can't be cocky. We need to be confident, and we need to, be humble.
I agree. I would go further. We need to be demure, and we need to be mindful if Kamala Harris were to win. I mean, why not? Let's not give them anything that they can then use against us, for sure. Let me say thank you to Less On with the first Twitch Prime subscription of the evening. Welcome. I appreciate that you are here. Let's look at just a couple of other clips. Oh, this is interesting. So if you are still supporting Robert F. Kennedy Jr., here is Nicole Shanahan, his completely disastrous vice presidential pick, telling Tom Bilyeu on Impact Theory, by the way, a program I will be appearing on in the next couple of weeks. Here is Nicole Shanahan telling Tom Bilyeu, yeah, they might stay in, but they also might get out and endorse Donald Trump. What principle? Wow. Incredible stuff, right?
What my gut.
And by the way, it takes her a long time to get to that. Just, you've got to stick with it. I know that her delivery is insufferable, Let's listen.
Tells me right now is that we just have to keep being honest. I got to just keep being honest. I got to keep focusing on what matters the most outside of party lines. I need to focus on a vision that goes beyond November.
Okay.
And if that means that we stay in, and, there's benefits to staying in. If we get over 5% of the vote, we actually establish ourselves as a party.
It's so funny. RFK is like, we are in this till the end and we're in it to win it. Nicole Shanahan's like, we've been able to identify some benefits if we stay in.
71% of Americans want a strong third party with a real shot at winning. There's even public funds available if we get over 5% of the vote. So we could get, I think it's like $13.5 million in public funds to keep the party going. And that's,
what a party.
That's worth something. That means that we can position for a real third party election in 2028 where we don't have to go around and spend tens of millions of dollars on ballot access, which means that we can spend all of that time and money.
Just stick with it. We're only 40 seconds away.
Campaigning. So, there's two options that we're looking at. And one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Waltz presidency because we draw votes from Trump.
At least she's admitting that. That's also a big admission.
Or we draw somehow more votes from Trump. Or
somehow. I have no idea why it's more Trump people that are considering us.
Or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump and we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision.
There it is. So the options that they are currently considering for all of the RFK for life, RFK to November 5th, RFK is doing this to win. The two options they are currently considering is we might stay in because it's possible we could glean some benefit from that, or we join forces with Trump, which, understand, it means we endorse Trump, we get out, Trump maybe promises me some kind of job, although so far he's been kind of resistant to doing that. Thank you to Psalm Salt and Buck Nasty for the Twitch Prime subscriptions. Welcome to both of you. It's great to have you here on night 2 of the Democratic National Committee. If you're just joining us, we are about halfway or a little bit more through a ceremonial roll call vote. After that, the speeches will start. Bernie Sanders will be speaking. Michelle Obama will be speaking. Barack Obama will be speaking. And many other people. I think you're really going to enjoy tonight's speakers. And this is only night 2 of 4. I was talking to some of my contacts on the ground in Chicago. Universally, I was told everyone was very displeased with how the scheduling got completely out of control yesterday. Not only did a ton of people end up getting skipped and removed from the schedule, everything was running an hour late. Joe Biden spoke until 12:20 a.m. Eastern time. I'm told that there is a commitment not to have that happen tonight, but who the hell knows, right? Really, who knows? I guess we'll see when Chuck Schumer gets going. That'll be a critical question. Let's see other super chats that are coming in. June says, David, sir, so many tears and so many eyes. Obama. Well said. NK says, David, sir, what hair product do you use? I use a product called American Crew Fiber. American Crew is the brand. Fiber is the name of the product. It is not a sponsor of any kind. In fact, they'd probably prefer I never mention it because, of what's going on with my hair. But it is the product I have best found is able to control what I need to control. And so that's the one that I use, and absolutely no sponsorship or financial interest whatsoever. None whatsoever. All right, let's listen to a little bit more of this ceremonial roll call vote that's taking place.
Michigan, how do you cast your vote?
Good evening from the Great Lakes State. I'm Michigan Democratic Party Chair LaVora Barnes. Michigan has an incredible story. We put the world on wheels and we built the middle class.
We are getting things done in Michigan in 2022. We flipped our state House of Representatives for the first time in 40 years. We're getting it done in Michigan.
And I'm Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
It's Big Gretch.
We cut taxes. We protected freedoms. We brought manufacturing home, and we know how to win. This November, we're marching together. Michigan cast three presidents.
Wow.
25 votes for
our next president, Kamala Harris.
People may be wondering, Prince was from Minnesota, I believe.
Minnesota, how do you cast your vote?
Mr. Secretary, the great state of Minnesota, home of Vice President Hubert Humphrey,
Right.
Vice President Walter Mondale, and the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz. We pass.
Minnesota passes.
People wondering about the passing, what's going on is that because the vice presidential nominee, Tim Walz, is from Minnesota, they are saving that for something extra, something more ceremonial in some way at a later point in the convention.
Red clay hills to the Mississippi River. To our Gulf Coast, we're proud of our heroes such as Fannie Lou Hamer and our special guest, Mr. January 6th, the Honorable Benny G. Thompson. With great joy, Mississippi delivers 40 votes for our future president, Miss Kamala Harris.
It actually does seem, from what I'm kind of gathering, people would rather just listen to the roll call, which is totally cool with me.
Now tonight is a celebration of love, a celebration of life. So let the celebration continue.
Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, I'm Russ Carnahan.
Missouri, how do you cast your vote?
Mr. Secretary, I'm Russ Carnahan, Chairman of Missouri Democrats. We're home to Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. We are home to common sense leaders like President Truman, Senators Eagleton, Carnahan, McCaskill, and we will fire Josh Hawley and hire Marine veteran Lucas Kuhn.
Let's hope.
Our voters will reclaim reproductive freedom. Kamala Harris has sent a lightning bolt of energy and hope across this country, and we proudly cast 2 votes present and 68 votes for Kamala Harris and our Midwestern friend, Tim Walz.
Montana, how do you cast your vote?
We, the delegates of the proud state of Montana, on behalf of Big Sky Country, the last best place in these United States, grateful for the beauty of our land and determined to protect it for future generations.
We who sent the first woman to Congress proudly cast our 24 delegate votes to send the first woman to the White House, Kamala Harris!
All right, so the roll call continues. June letting me know that Eminem is from Michigan, and that's why an Eminem song was played during Michigan. Yes, I'm aware of that. I'm not that disconnected from everything that's going on. Let's listen to another voicemail or two just to see what is on the minds of people.
Hey, David, this is Benjamin Johnson out of Phoenix. I just wanted to give you a call. Listening to the speech that Hillary Clinton gave last night about breaking the glass ceiling, I was sitting there and it made me tear up, thinking about, in 2016 when Hillary Clinton lost. I just remember being in a room with my mom and my two sisters, and the emotion of her speech and not hearing her speak in such a long time, it kind of brought that all back. And I'm just really excited and hopeful that that ceiling gets to break this time.
Yeah, listen, I thought Hillary's speech was very good. And anecdotally, there was some Hillary hate in the live chat, but it didn't. I thought the speech was good, and criticizing Hillary Clinton is why we don't have Roe v. Wade today. That's the only way I would sort of put it. Let's see if we've got one more here.
Good evening. This is Dee from Houston, Texas. Make sure you check your voter registration card is current.
Yes, go to vote.org. Make sure you won't fall prey to any hijinks. Go to vote.org. Check your registration. Very good advice. Quinn says, Mr. Pacman, sir, what did you think about Warnock's speech last night? I thought he went on too long, actually. I thought the end of it was good. There were, they were getting momentum going with good, quick speeches, 5-7 minutes. And he spoke, I believe it was 30 or 35 minutes. I don't know why his speech was so long. I don't know if it was supposed to be. It really slowed down the night. It was half of the reason that everything ended up running an hour late. So I thought the speech was fine. The end was probably the best part, but I don't know why he went on for that long.
How do you cast your vote?
Good evening. My name is Joanne Dowdell from the great state home of the nation's first primary, New Hampshire, where we stand granite strong. We are so proud of the many women throughout our state committed to building a future of opportunity and trailblazing the way for all of us. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our youngest delegate, Aliana Hope-Mazur.
Here's an interesting question from Ryan. How would JFK Jr. joining Trump's campaign affect the election? So I hate to be the one to tell you this, Ryan, but JFK Jr. died 25 years ago, in case you didn't know. Now, assuming you mean RFK Jr., honestly, at this point, it seems as though RFK takes more from Trump. So RFK getting out actually probably helps Donald Trump at this point in time. It is weird that Warnock got so much more time. And Reldra says, thank you for bringing this live, David. Yes, we are indeed live.
How do you cast your vote?
Everybody, I'm Governor Phil Murphy. We're from Jersey, baby.
And you're not. In the great Garden State, we care about protecting women's rights and lifting up vulnerable communities. That's what we mean when we say the great Garden State.
My name is Dr. Joey Perella, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm a proud resident of the Garden State. I'm proud to stand with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz because they stand with the LGBTQ community. It's time to turn the page on Trump. Thank you.
I'm Leroy Jones, the chairman of the New Jersey State Committee, the home of the late, great Whitney Houston. And New Jersey and these amazing delegates cast 2 votes present and 142 votes for Kamala Harris, President of the United States of America. When we fight, we win. When we fight.
Very, very powerful stuff from New Jersey. Justin says, want another reason to vote? Democrats have more seats to defend in the Senate this year. Securing the Senate will limit Republican efforts in 2026 and 2028. When will Texas be a swing state? Well, people have been talking about Texas becoming a swing state for a long time. Hasn't quite happened yet. But yes, very important to consider control of the House and Senate. Dylan asks, is there a specific speech you're especially looking forward to? I'll be honest, I'm looking forward to hearing from Barack Obama. I am very, very much looking forward to that. And also Bernie Sanders, Michelle Obama, I think will be interesting. Kind of curious to see what J.B. Pritzker says. A lot of good speeches coming up today, starting shortly. David, sir, Bruce is from Jersey. Yes, I know. Bruce Springsteen's from New Jersey. June really helping me out here. David, sir, asks AJ, could you explain from the standpoint of Hillary why winning the popular vote isn't enough to win? The Electoral College mystifies me. AJ, I don't know if you just don't understand how the Electoral College works or if you're asking something deeper or more complicated than that. But in the United States, we have an Electoral College. When we vote for the electors. The electors vote for the president. So each state is assigned a number of points called electoral votes. To become president, you need to assemble 270 points. Each state has a different value based on population. So you can win the popular vote nationally with margins in big Democratic states like California and New York, yet not secure the 270 electoral votes or points that you need. But if the question was a different one, let me know. Hector says, I hope Obama talks about bringing back electronics. Yes, Donald Trump at a speech yesterday said they're going to be bringing up electronics and that electronics is peanuts in comparison. In comparison to what? I really couldn't tell you.
Governor Kathy Hochul!
Kathy Hochul, just an electric speaker.
Of the greatest state that ever existed. Hey, for New Yorkers, get used to it. From Seneca Falls, the birthplace of the women's rights movement, to Stonewall, the birthplace of the LGBTQ movement.
Nathan Hoffman says, can we get a Bernie? Yeah, good. Okay. I actually have that here.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah, good. Okay. I like that one. Yeah, good.
Also, not just the birthplace of great progressive movements, we are the birthplace of Shirley Chisholm. We are the birthplace. We are the birthplace of Geraldine Ferraro. And we are the home of Hillary Clinton. And that's why, as the first woman governor of New York, I am so proud to cast 298 votes to make Kamala Harris the first female president of the United States of America.
It's funny how she's completely blocked by Spike Lee. I actually ran into Spike Lee recently out at, I don't know how many people are familiar with this part of Brooklyn, but there is this park right on the waterfront where I actually used to be in a soccer league where I scored a number of goals. You may be interested to know. They were kind of gimmies, but they still counted. Anyway, Spike, I was just there walking around, and Spike was playing basketball on one of the basketball courts that's there. Just a totally random thing, but he was there wearing his New York Knicks jersey.
Reverend William Barber, Nina Simone, we represent a new South. And we are proud to be that again this year by electing Josh Stein, Allison Riggs, Wesley Harris, Anita Earls, and everyone else that's on our ballot this year. We are going to make sure that we put Democrats on the ballot and in people's hearts and minds. North Carolina gives 131 votes to the phenomenal Kamala Harris.
North Dakota, how do you cast your vote?
Mr. Secretary, the Democrats of North Dakota, the Peace Garden State, are proud to cast our 17 votes for Vice President Kamala Harris and the best neighbor you could ever hope to have, Governor Tim Walz, for President and Vice President of the United States of America. Let's go!
Whoa. North Dakota shot out of a cannon tonight. Austin asks, David, do you have a favorite all-time Trump gaffe or glitch moment? I really don't, because there are so many, but I do like this one.
Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your...
That is a good one. Quinn says, David, how do you recommend someone living in a liberal bubble like San Francisco help get out the vote? You can phone bank. You can phone bank nationally, no matter where you are. And I recommend that you do it. Pepe Xanadu says, no way this ends before midnight. It very well may not end before midnight, but they're on schedule right now because the next speech is supposed to be Chuck Schumer at 9 p.m. They're on track for that, at least as of right now. So let's not assume that they're going to be running late, because right now they're on time.
Celestial navigation, and to some of the friendliest people in the Pacific. We are the blue waves of the Pacific, and we are proud to cast all 11 votes for our MVP, Kamala Harris. Viva Marianas! Viva Harris Walz! Okay.
Ohio, how do you cast your vote?
Know how to make history. We put a man on the moon, and we are the founding home of the AFL-CIO. We enshrined abortion rights in our state constitution by 13 points, and we are going to send Sherrod Brown back to the U.S. Senate. As the first woman to lead Ohio Democrats, I am proud to cast our ballots for the first woman to be president of the United States. Mr. Secretary, we cast one vote present and 142 votes for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Right. Okay.
Oklahoma, how do you cast your vote?
Hello from Oklahoma, where we fight for the future for all Oklahomans can be proud of. The future where working families thrive, our diversity is our strength, and our values like freedom, equality, and opportunity puts us ahead and makes Oklahoma proud. We cast our 36 votes for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
All right, voicemails keep coming in.
Thank you, David, for your program. And I guess you could consider me one of those undecided voters. Do you think we're close to getting Trump's health care plan? It's been 5 years since he said it was 2 months away. I hope my question makes sense.
Yeah,
Have a great
actually,
night.
Trump said back in August of 2020 that his health care plan was 2 weeks away, not 2 months away. I'm still hopeful that we get it soon. Call me crazy, but I hope we get it soon. Camus says, dumb question, why did Ohio turn red? Couple different things that explain why that happened in Ohio. Demographic changes. Ohio has become less diverse and also more rural. So both of those are explanations. There are economic concerns in Ohio, which have successfully been weaponized against Democrats. And there have also been some cultural shifts where Ohio is just a little bit more aligned nationally, I guess I would say, with Republicans, or with national Republicans, maybe is the way that I would put it. Hab says, David, sir, do you have a favorite city in Canada? Yes, it's Montreal. I have been maybe 20 or 25 times in my life. I have family there, and it is absolutely my favorite Canadian city. Not that I have that much experience with different Canadian cities, but I've been to Ottawa. I've been to Toronto. That's actually really it. So among the 3 cities I've been to, Montreal is definitely my favorite.
The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. How do you cast your vote?
Let's go, Pennsylvania. Let's go. My name is Mayor DeJuan Walker from the great city of Aliquippa, Beaver County. My city is a city of legends, the only high school in America with 3 Hall of Famers. I took this seat in 2009 when my sister was murdered. I wanted to do better. 15 years she's been gone. 12 years this city has been under my watch. I'm grateful for the opportunity to lead my city. I'm grateful for the state of Pennsylvania. God bless everyone in this room. I love this state. Thank you.
I'm Governor Josh Shapiro.
Right.
The proud governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the birthplace of democracy, the birthplace of freedom, the greatest Commonwealth of all. And together, Pennsylvania cast 178 votes for the next Madam President of the United States, Kamala Harris, and Vice President Tim Walz.
Obama.
Very, very powerful stuff there from Josh Shapiro. The questions continue just pouring in via Super Chat. Kashif says, David, how much of Obama's speech should be focused on Trump versus the future of the U.S. with a Harris presidency? I would go 75% a positive vision of the future with Kamala Harris at the helm, 25% reminder of what the alternative is. That's the way I would do it if it were me, but it's not me because I don't have a clue. Matthew George says, let's get to 1,500 pre-orders of your famous and award-winning book, Echo Machine. Well, you know, I happen to have the cover right here. I was just notified this morning. We have reached 931 pre-orders for the book. I was told by my publisher, David, sir, don't set your sights too high. It's really hard to sell books. 5,000 books total would be a great success. Most commercial releases don't even sell 2,000 books. The average book published sells only 300 copies. We are months from the release of my book, and we have 931 pre-orders. With tears in their eyes, they were writing to me saying, sir, 931. I would love it. I put so much work into this book. Oh, books, they have words and pages in them. Yeah, okay. So much work into this book. We have an ebook. We have a paper book. We have an audio book. Whichever version you want to pre-order counts. I will be reading the audiobook version. Please consider the pre-order, davidpakman.com/echo, or go anywhere you get ebooks, audiobooks, or paper books. Every pre-order will qualify for a signed book plate and lots of other goodies, okay? And please send your pre-order receipts to info@davidpakman.com, and I will notify you when we are ready to provide all of those extra goodies. So I really appreciate that. Let's at least get to 1,000 pre-orders today, please. Okay. David, please help me understand the reasoning between the pro-Palestine rioters. They won't vote for Kamala, and so if she loses, they get Trump. I do not speak for them. You got to ask them what the reasoning is, because I don't get the reasoning. It doesn't make sense. We have two options, and there's a very clear one that's much worse for the Palestinian people. And it's the one that those protesters are helping if they succeed. So you'd have to ask them what their rationale is. I don't understand it. Mike asks, why did California pass their delegate votes? California and Minnesota both passed because Kamala Harris is from California, Tim Walz is from Minnesota. They're going to be circling back around either now or later in the convention to put more pomp and circumstance around those ballots, those delegates. That's the plan. Let's see here. The Good Stink says, David, have you thought about doing a weekly stream, maybe an hour? Your live streams have a more casual feel. Everybody loves the soundboard.
Further scream that his days are numbered. Trump. This is a gross prosecutorial misconduct.
I would love to listen. I'm streaming right now. Okay. I would love to stream more. Things are very busy between the book and parenting and all these different things, but I will try to stream more. Quinn says, David, I'm predicting a Shapiro Buttigieg ticket in 28. Do you think it's realistic? I don't know if it's realistic, but I would love it. And listen, let's be honest. If Kamala Harris wins, she's running for re-election in 2028. So I think that's important to consider. Pepe Xanadu says, Hispanic/Latino president in our lifetime? Well, depends how old you are, I guess. But I would love to see that, sure. I'm going to do my identity politics. As a Hispanic Jew myself, I would love to see a Hispanic Jewish president. Why not? David, sir, liberal bubbles can write postcards via Voto Latino Mobilize or postcards to swing states to fellow voters. Please check that out. That sounds like a great idea. Scott says, David, sir, I was never taught to read. Would you recommend your book to me? Yeah, my book is good for people who know how to read and for people who don't, because we also have an audiobook. If you know how to listen, if you're able to put on your listening ears, then you can do the audiobook. Stuff says, I like Josh Shapiro, but like Tim Walz. I pre-ordered The Echo Machine. I miss Hatriot Mail. Thank you, Stuff. Very much appreciate that. DM Sanks says, add 2 to your pre-order, Mr. Packman, sir. Appreciate that very much. Thank you. And Chicken Marsala says, David, would you say the Palestine protests show up at Dem events because deep down they know Dem's way are more likely to bend on this issue? You would have to ask them. I could not possibly speak for them. So you've really got to check with them, okay? Let's see here. I want to say thank you to Lauren Kingsley, who just signed up at joinpacman.com. I guess I'll take this opportunity to mention, you know how the Republicans have gotten really weird? We have an unpublished coupon code for membership tonight. It's DNC not weird. No spaces. DNC not weird. If you would humbly consider becoming a member on my website, you can use this coupon code, DNC not weird, on any membership, including the big boy, the lifetime membership. I will shout you out if I see your name pop up, and the coupon code is DNC not weird. We're at 21, hoping for 100, and we're just getting started here as Chuck Schumer scheduled to speak in 10 minutes if they are going to be staying on track. Jimmy says, David, did you do the audio for the audiobook? I did. It seemed that since I have a podcast, it would be weird to have an audiobook and someone else is reading it. It wouldn't make sense. Dragon says, do you have a link to your soundboard? I want to add some to my Discord. The soundboard is a member benefit, okay? If you sign up on my website, you have access to the soundboard.
Globalist, internationalist, Trotskyite, socialist, unlike Obama, Trudeau, Macron.
Exactly.
And he's going to represent you long and hard.
Exactly. So yes, we do have a soundboard. It's available to our members. Rocco says, pre-order incoming. David, sir, how big an influence was your favorite book, Waves of Rancor, on the Echo Machine? I think I cite it maybe once or twice, to be totally honest. So yeah, it makes a cameo. Makes a cameo for sure. And big thank you to Senator Larry Craig also for gifting a subscription. Let's get back and listen to the tail end here of the ceremonial roll call vote.
Heroine Kate Cox.
I'm Kate Cox, and I love being a mom. I have two beautiful children, and my husband and I have always wanted a third. But when I got pregnant, doctors told us our baby would never survive. And if I didn't get an abortion, it would put a future pregnancy at risk. But Trump didn't care. And because of his abortion bans, I had to flee my home. There's nothing pro-family about abortion bans. There's nothing pro-life about letting women suffer and even die.
Super chats keep pouring in. Handsome Gunner says Biden's stance on Palestine ruined his re-election chances. Liberals hated the uncommitted vote, but the results have been very positive since dropping. Yeah, I can't find any evidence of that. In every single poll taken before Biden dropped out, the Israel-Gaza situation ranked 10th, 15th, or 0 in every poll. So it's not a crazy thing to wonder about, but I was able to find no evidence that what you're saying is true. I think the energy behind Kamala Harris is just that Joe Biden was low energy and he was not inspiring people to say, I'm really excited about this. All of a sudden, he's gone. Kamala Harris appears. She's 20 years younger than Trump, high energy, has interesting ideas, knows how to handle Trump, prosecutor, all these things. All of a sudden, people are excited. I've seen no evidence whatsoever that this analysis is accurate. If it were, I would tell you. Quinn says, would you say your support of Kamala is full-throated? Geez, I don't know. I don't want to get into those sorts of phrases because I think it could be misinterpreted. People are trying to sexualize it. Sean Johnson says, David, with tears in my eyes, I hope you didn't accidentally talk about your meeting with Kim Jong-un in your audiobook. I was joking around about this with my publisher after the whole Kristi Noem thing, where it was like, how did that get in? I don't know. But as soon as I found out about it, I had it removed. I really hope that there aren't totally fabricated anecdotes about my life in my book. That would be really, really terrible. It would be a horrible thing. I want to say thank you to Joe Lasso for signing up on my website with the coupon code DNC Not Weird. Let's go now to Vermont.
Vermont, how do you cast your vote?
Vermont knows the value of public education. We even have a teacher as our congresswoman. And in 1777, we were the first state to place public education in our Constitution. As someone with significant learning disabilities, I know the value of investing in every single child.
Who is that? That guy looks really familiar. Who is this guy?
24 votes for Kamala Harris because we are not going back.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, how do you cast your vote?
Mr. Secretary, we are proud to call the Virgin Islands of the United States our home, a place of resistance and freedom, home of Alexander Hamilton, the first slave rebellion in the Western Hemisphere, the fire-burned queens. We are proud to celebrate a nominee of Caribbean heritage.
From America's Caribbean, the place where the sun rises first in America, from the place of great liberty and the vacation home of President Joe Biden, the Virgin Islanders are strong, resilient, and committed and passionate to vote for the next President of the United States. All 13 votes to Kamala Harris!
There's the Virgin Islands checking in. WYRM says, David, sir, what are your views on Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat do... Hold on, I have to play it.
Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your...
Exactly. David just pre-ordered your fantastic new book. It's going to be huge. So many people, the best people, have pre-ordered too. They're saying it's going to be the greatest book ever. No one's ever done pre-orders this well. The sniffing is a big part of it, of the way he talks. I really appreciate that. Peppy says, am I looking to take over Fred Norris's legacy? Not actively. Zeke says, David, I'm pre-ordering your book and becoming a member for the soundboard. I appreciate that. I also want to say a quick thank you to Delta Pico for the Twitch Prime subscription. And big thanks to Rick Russell, Amy Corwin, Timothy McLean, and Lisa Rader for signing up on my website. We are here on night two of the DNC. Ali Reza, did I miss one? No. Ali Reza asks, David, how different or similar do you see the fate of J.D. Vance compared to Mike Pence? Politically, I mean. Well, I doubt they will end up demanding J.D. be hanged, because it will be Kamala Harris overseeing the count in January, not J.D. Vance. So hopefully that will help him remain alive, for lack of a better term. Nate says, David, could you please add when you quoted Trump saying he had chocolate cake with she to your soundboard? It's an underrated comment. We've got to find it. We'll have to dig that up. I don't even know where that is. Thanks to Jeffrey Carey Jr. for signing up on the website, as well as Trey Owens. We are now just moments from the continuation of today's speeches with what we might call the prime time speeches. Senator Chuck Schumer, Senator Bernie Sanders, Governor J.B. Pritzker, Senator Tammy Duckworth, the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, Michelle Obama, and we will be culminating the evening with a speech from former President Barack Obama. So all of that happening very, very soon. OKLOL asks, would you consider hosting a progressive panel on your channel to discuss the state of the election, the Dem Party, certain policies? I'd love to see you talk with Brian, Jenk, Kyle, and Luke. You know, I'd be open to that. I don't know how much interest there would really be in that. And coordinating a panel, we've learned, is a lot of work because you've got to take the chaos of booking a single guest and combine it with a sort of Rubik's Cube or Tetris of multiple people's schedules. So we'll look into it. It's definitely an interesting idea. Let's put it that way.
Because I will not, I repeat, I will not let everything I've fought for be taken away by Donald Trump.
My name is Catherine Prather. I am 18 years old, and I am the youngest delegate from West Virginia. I'm suited up and ready for battle because I will not let my freedoms and my future be taken away by Donald Trump. That's why we're proud to cast West Virginia's 24 delegates for the next President of the United States, Kamala Harris!
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is DJ Cassidy. Now, are you ready?
Things getting very, very excited for the cheeseheads in Wisconsin. Don't give me any of that fake cheddar, folks. That's for sure. Mart says, David, sir, I pre-ordered your book. Hope being from Canada will not prevent me from receiving all of the goodies. I don't believe it will have any prevention effect. Absolutely not. Stormus says, we've endorsed Dr. Oz. We've endorsed JP. J.D. Mandel.
We've endorsed JP, right? J.D. Mandel.
Right. I want to say thank you to Mike Klum for gifting 10 YouTube subscriptions. Appreciate that, Mike. Great to see you here. Thanks to Kenneth, who says, David, sir, I remember at some point you saying you play drums. Any chance for a drum-related video at some point with peace and love? You know, there are drum videos floating around on the internet. It's very, very weaponized stuff, that I can tell you. Ellie May says, with how fast things have happened in the last few months with your book, will your book, which I pre-ordered, be helpful when it comes out in March? Yeah, the book is not about the day-to-day news, so it's not going to be... Listen, if Trump wins, the book will be an informative history of how we got to where we are and how bad it might get. If Trump loses, the book will be an important history of how we got to the point where Trump was president and what the ideal models would be for the country going forward under a more sane administration. So it's really evergreen and it doesn't depend on the day-to-day news. Zeke asks, David, have you ever considered doing a personal YouTube channel, life updates, vacation blogs, etc.? No, I definitely do not need that. If I'm traveling, I just want to be traveling. You know, I do enough camera stuff here. If I were to quit the show and become a travel blogger, that would be different. But I'm not really looking for like additional jobs right now. I want to welcome Andy Hernandez, Chris Matthews, Nathan Coffrin, and Senator Larry Craig, 4 more members at joinpacman.com. Really appreciate it. And we are getting to the end here of the roll call.
Your vote.
Mr. Secretary, delegates, my name's Joe Barbudo, and these folks around me, we are honored to be representing the great state of Wyoming. Both the first state and territory in this nation to recognize a woman's right to vote, and the state that 100 years ago elected Democrat Nellie Taylor Ross, our nation's first female governor. With that legacy in mind and heart, the Equality State cast all of our votes for the woman who will be the first woman president of the United States. Say it with me now, Kamala Harris! All right, good job.
Okay. See, now they're going back to Minnesota, California.
The great state of Minnesota. How do you cast your vote?
Hello, Minnesota! My name is Hans Storbeck, and Tim Walz was my neighbor, coach, and favorite teacher. We were excited to go to his classroom every day. And if you've ever been in high school, you know that can be rare. He opened our eyes to the world. He taught us how to talk about global issues with respect, curiosity, and kindness, even and especially when we disagreed. But he wasn't just a great teacher. He was also a great neighbor and friend. In fact, when he was in the midst of a budget battle as governor of our state, he still found time to attend my brother's funeral. Mr. Walz means the world to my family. He's always been there for us, and that's how I know he'll always be there for you as vice president.
Thank you, Hans. Minnesota, let me hear you. There you go. 14 years in the National Football League taught me a lot about leadership. A good leader cannot be selfish. He has to look out for his team. Coach Walsh is unselfish as they come. He has led Minnesota with honesty and integrity. And in November, Minnesota is going to send Tim Walz and Kamala Harris to the White House. Let's go!
I'm Amy Klobuchar, the senator from the great state of Minnesota, where nearly everyone votes and purple reigns.
And I'm Tina Smith from the great state of Minnesota.
Right.
The home of the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz. Minnesota, we cast 10 votes present, and we deliver 81 votes for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
All right, so you all were right. They are starting to run late now. I was saying they might stay on track, but they are now running late. You all were right.
My name's Governor Gavin Newsom.
There's our friend Ted Lieu.
From the great state of Nancy Pelosi. I come from a state like our nation of dreamers, of doers, of entrepreneurs, of innovators that prides itself on being on the leading and cutting edge of new ideas. California is the most diverse state in the world's most diverse democracy. And we pride ourselves on our ability to live together and advance together and prosper together across every conceivable and imaginable difference. But the thing we pride ourselves most on is that we believe the future happens in California first. And Democrats, I've had the privilege for over 20 years to see that future taking shape with a star in Alameda courtroom by the name of Kamala Harris. I saw that star fighting for criminal justice, racial justice, economic justice, social justice. I saw that star get even brighter as Attorney General of California, as a United States Senator, and as Vice President of the United States of America. Kamala Harris has always done the right thing. A champion for voting rights, civil rights, LGBTQ rights, the rights for women and girls. So Democrats and independents, it's time for us to do the right thing, and that is to elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States of America. California, we proudly cast our 482 votes for the next president, Kamala Harris.
Wow.
Thank you to everyone who participated in our celebratory roll.
Hey, by the way, I know the speeches are about to start. I've just caught wind that there is something crazy going on. Kamala Harris is holding a campaign rally tonight in Milwaukee. Apparently, you know how Trump always says, we had to turn away thousands of people. Then you look, half the arena's empty. There are reports that thousands of people were turned away. You know, Trump goes, the fire marshal. And it's like, the fire marshal's not even there, dude. The fire marshal said no more people. This is what's going on in Milwaukee right now. Look at these crowds.
I'ma keep on running because the winner don't quit on themselves.
Really crazy stuff going on right now as the DNC moves into the speeches, which is really the reason we're here today, and we will be staying with that. But we will dip into the Harris Walls rally, which seems completely out of control, people being turned away. If you are the type of person like Trump, who's a little bit self-conscious about the size of your crowds, if there's been a little bit of shrinkage because the temperature politically has not gone in your favor, this is very, very much not what you probably want to be seeing, okay, at this point in time. That's for sure. All right, what is happening at the DNC, by the way? Oh, I guess now they're covering the fact that Kamala Harris is doing a rally. This is getting nuts.
Good evening, Milwaukee. And hello to everyone joining us from exciting Chicago. The delegates at the Democratic National Convention, well, they just completed their roll call.
to be the next Vice President and President of the United States of America.
Obama.
And I thank everyone there and here for believing in what we can do together. We are so honored to be your nominees. This is a people-powered campaign, and together we will chart a new way forward. A future for freedom, opportunity, of optimism and faith. So to everyone in Chicago and across America, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you're going to hear from our wonderful second gentleman shortly. I'll see you in 2 days, Chicago.
Please welcome TV personality, loud and proud Latina, Ana Navarro.
All right, here we go. By the way, Republican Ana Navarro.
La noche, Chicago. So tell me, are you excited? Wow, what energy, what a moment. I have to tell you, I will never stop being the little refugee girl who came to this country at the age of 8. Thank you for inviting me to be here. Welcome to the second night of the Democratic National Convention. Let me tell you about the Kamala Harris I know. She is legitimately a joyful, optimistic leader. She cares about policy, yes, but she also cares about people and how that policy affects real people, not just the members of Mar-a-Lago. And you know what else? Kamala Harris, she likes dogs. And my dog, Cha-Cha, likes her. Dogs are good judges of character. So are cats. We cannot elect a president who does not like dogs or hangs around with people who shoot them.
Fair.
Now, let's be serious. Donald Trump and his minions call Kamala a communist. I know communism. I fled communism from Nicaragua when I was 8 years old. I don't take it lightly. And let me tell you what communist dictators do. And it's never just for one day. They attack the free press. They call them the enemy of the people, like Ortega does in Nicaragua. They put their unqualified relatives in cushy government jobs so they can get rich of their positions, like the Castros do in Cuba. And they refuse to accept legitimate elections when they lose and call for violence to stay in power, like Maduro is doing right now in Venezuela. Now, you tell me something. Do any of those things sound familiar? Is there anybody running for president who reminds you of that? And I know one thing, it's not Kamala Harris. That is not the America we love. It's not the land of freedom we treasure. Last night, we heard President Biden say that he loves his job, but he loves his country more. Every American needs to love our country more. Every American has the duty to put our country first. Country first before party. Country first before political ambition. Country first before habit. And in this election, putting country first means one thing and one thing only: voting for Kamala Harris.
This is pretty solid.
And that That is what this night is about. That is what we're going to talk about tonight. So you know what? Let's get it started. Let's get this fiesta going.
Very solid speech.
The ayes are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided. The Vice
All right, so things getting going very quickly, as you can see here simultaneously. They have two arenas filled to the brim at the same time, and Trump sitting probably on that toilet. Speaking of which, I just received this voicemail.
David, we're down in North Carolina. The toilets haven't been right since Biden. Think they're going to talk about this at all tonight?
Isn't that a tragedy? Well, a report from North Carolina. I guess Trump was right. The toilets just haven't been right. They haven't been right since Biden became president. DB says, I named my dog Obama. Can you shout him out, David? Yeah.
Obama.
Hope your dog's doing well. Those crowds in Milwaukee look AI generated. Yes, of course. No, they must be fake. Big thank you to Roni Lee Richmond for signing up on my website. Welcome, everybody, to night 2 at the DNC. The speeches are getting going, and here's Chuck Schumer, Senator from New York. Look at this guy, huh?
Everybody, wasn't that a great roll call? Now just let me hear you if you're ready for President Kamala Harris. And we will bend men. Friends, we're here to talk about one thing, tomorrow, and building a better tomorrow for all Americans.
Right.
This November, we can choose a brighter, a fairer, a freer future, or we can relive the dark night of Trump's American carnage. Only one candidate will move America forward, Kamala Harris. Vice President Harris.
A light cover just fell, and now I'm like really bright. So I'm gonna mute myself. We'll watch the speech. I'm gonna fix that, okay? That's not oh my goodness. I could not possibly continue. I'll be right back.
And created millions of good paying American jobs. I worked with Kamala Harris when she was Senator Harris. I saw a leader who was fearless, who stood up for middle-class families like the one she was raised in, who focused on things that really mattered. Helping parents raise their kids, safe neighborhoods, safe schools, and building an opportunity economy that gives everyone a shot at the American dream. She will lead America forward into a brighter future, but she can't do it alone. She needs a Democratic majority in the Senate of the United States. Now, my friends, 2 years ago, the naysayers said Senate Democrats stood no chance in the midterms. I told them, just you wait. We're going to keep the Senate and maybe pick up a seat or two, and that's exactly what happened. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my good friends at this convention, I am telling all of you now, we're going to hold the Senate again, and we're poised to pick up seats. A Democratic majority to create good-paying jobs and lower costs, to defend a woman's right to choose, to deliver for communities back home. Our senators are doing it, like Jackie Rosen, delivering high-speed rail for Nevada. John Tester, bringing high-tech jobs to Montana. and Bobby Casey and Sherrod Brown and Tammy Baldwin and Martin Heinrich fixing bridges in Pennsylvania and Ohio and Wisconsin and New Mexico. We also have amazing candidates. Ruben Gallego, Angela Also-Brooks, Andy Kim, Alyssa Slotkin, Lisa Blunt, Rochester, Colin Allred, Debbie Mucarsel-Powell. And folks, listen to this. More than half of our candidates are candidates of color. We're making the Senate look like America. Now let's compare that with Senate Republicans. Senate Republicans pretend to care about middle-class families, but they voted no on expanding the child tax credit, and J.D. Vance didn't even show up to vote. Senate Republicans pretend to care about the border, but they voted no on the strongest border bill in a decade. Republicans tend to care about freedom, but they voted no on a woman's right to choose. No to safeguard IVF. No to birth control. That is just a taste of their extreme agenda. Is that what we want for America? Do we want a Republican Senate that assaults reproductive freedoms? Do we want a Republican Senate that cuts taxes for the rich, rigs the game for big oil and big pharma? Well, folks, the choice is ours. Now, let me close on a personal note. As the highest-ranking Jewish elected official in American history, I want my grandkids and all grandkids to never, never face discrimination because of who they are. But Donald Trump, this is a guy who peddles anti-Semitic stereotypes. He even invited a white supremacist to Mar-a-Lago. And unfortunately, his prejudice goes in all directions. He fuels Islamophobia and issued a Muslim ban as president. Tonight, folks, I am wearing this blue square to stand up to anti-Semitism, to stand up to all hate. Our children, our grandchildren, no matter their race, no matter their creed, their gender or family, deserve better than Donald Trump's American carnage. So, are you ready to make sure Donald Trump never, ever gets near the White House again? So let's elect Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and a Democratic majority in the Senate and keep the torch of freedom burning bright for generations to come. On to victory in November.
There is Senator Chuck Schumer. Scheduled next is Bernie Sanders, if they stick with the schedule. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz speaking before a completely full house in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The crowds Trump only dreams about, which is fascinating to see. I want to say a huge thank you to some really great people signing up on my website. Kimberly Fitch, Timothy McLean, Jeff Carey, I think I mentioned, Andy Hernandez, Lauren Kingsley, Jason Sickmeyer, really great folks. Very much appreciate all of you being here. Thanks also to Wookie Jack and Sam the Sleazeback over on Twitch. We're expecting Bernie next, although it all gets out of order very quickly. And we are building towards tonight's keynote address from former President Barack Obama. We will have other great speeches in between, including Michelle Obama, J.B. Pritzker, Doug Emhoff, Senator Tammy Duckworth, and many, many others that I am looking forward to. Voicemails are pouring in. Super chats are pouring in.
David, I don't know if you covered this yet, but Mike Pillow said he's going to show up incognito to the DNC, so keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what kind of a costume or disguise Mike Pillow could use. I think I have some Pillow stuff here. Hold on. Do I have any?
Over 54 countries have now been taken by the machines.
Exactly. So certainly something to keep in mind, I guess I would say. AJ asks whether my light cover that fell was made at Boeing. Clever, certainly. Trump is in Mar-a-Lago in a diaper, rounding pissed, watching both crowd sizes. Jeez, that's very, very aggressive stuff. Yeah, the rally in Milwaukee is wild. I mean, just a packed crowd. We really haven't seen political crowds like this for quite some time. And I quite frankly don't even really care that much about crowds. I mean, you know, Biden ran an interesting and successful campaign in 2020 without doing any major rallies, obviously in the context of the pandemic. So it's more of just a kind of interesting thing to me. Here's Bernie. The speech will also be on Twitter.
Thank you. Yeah, good. Thank you. I wrote the damn bill. My fellow Americans, it is an honor. It is an honor to be with you tonight because we're laying the groundwork for Kamala Harris to become our next president. And let me tell you why that is so important. I want you all to remember where we were 3.5 years ago. We were in the midst of the worst public health crisis in 100 years and the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. 3,000 Americans were dying every day, and our hospitals were overwhelmed with COVID patients. All across the country, businesses were shutting down. Unemployment was soaring. Workers were losing their health insurance. Schools were closing. State and city budgets were running out of money. People were being evicted from their homes. Children in America were going hungry. That was the reality the Biden-Harris administration faced as they entered the Oval Office. A nation suffering, a nation frightened, and people looking to their government for support. And within 2 months of taking office, our government did respond. We passed the American Rescue Plan, which provided $1,400 for every man, woman, and child in the working class. We extended and expanded benefits for the unemployed. We provided emergency assistance for small businesses to stay open. We guaranteed health care coverage to tens of millions of Americans through one of the largest expansions of Medicaid in history. We provided rent relief and mortgage assistance, which prevented tenants and homeowners from being evicted. We established emergency food programs for hungry children and the elderly, and protected the pensions of millions of union workers and retirees from being slashed by up to 65%. Oh, and by the way, we cut childhood poverty by over 40% through an expanded child tax credit. Thank you, President Biden. Thank you, Vice President Harris. Thank you, Democratic Congress. Now, I say all of this not to relive that difficult moment, but to make one simple point. When the political will is there, government can effectively deliver for the people of our country. And now we need to summon that will again, because too many of our fellow Americans are struggling every day to just get by, to put food on the table, to pay the rent, and to get the health care they need. Brothers and sisters, bottom line, we need an economy that works for all of us, not just the billionaire class. My fellow Americans, when 60% of our people live paycheck to paycheck, the top 1% have never, ever had it so good. And these oligarchs tell us we shouldn't tax the rich. The oligarchs tell us we shouldn't take on price gouging. We shouldn't expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing, and vision. And we shouldn't increase Social Security benefits for struggling seniors. Well, I've got some bad news for them. That is precisely what we are going to do. And we're going to win this struggle because this is precisely what the American people want from their government. And my friends, at the very top of that to-do list is the need to get big money out of our political process. Billionaires in both parties should not be able to buy elections, including primary elections. For the sake of our democracy, we must overturn the disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision and move toward public funding of elections. And let me tell you what else we must do. We need to join the rest of the industrialized world and guarantee health care to all people as a human right, not a privilege. We need to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. We need to pass the PRO Act so that workers can organize in unions and gain the decent pay and benefits they deserve. We need to strengthen public education, raise teachers' salaries, and make sure that every American, regardless of income, receives the higher education he or she needs. We need to take on Big Pharma and cut our prescription drug cost in half so that we no longer pay any more than other countries. Joe and Kamala made sure that no senior in America pays over $35 a month for insulin. We need to make sure that reality is true for every American. I look forward to working with Kamala and Tim to pass this agenda. And let us be very clear. This is not a radical agenda. But let me tell you what a radical agenda is. And that is Trump's Project 2025. At a time of massive income and wealth inequality, giving more tax breaks to billionaires is radical. Putting forth budgets to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid is radical. Letting polluters destroy our planet is radical. And my friends, we won't let that happen. Fellow Americans, in the last 3.5 years, working together, we have accomplished more than any government since FDR. But much, much more remains to be done. We must summon the courage to stand up to wealth and power and deliver justice for people at home and abroad. Abroad, we must end this horrific war in Gaza. Bring home the hostages and demand an immediate ceasefire. At home right here, we must take on Big Pharma, Big Oil, Big Ag, Big Tech, and all the other corporate monopolists whose greed is denying progress for working people. On November 5th, let us elect Kamala Harris as our president, and let us go forward to create the nation we know we can become. Thank you all very much.
There is Bernie Sanders laying it all out, the same sort of policy ideas he's had, certainly not compromising there. And a good speech from Bernie Sanders. Coming up next, expecting Governor J.B. Pritzker, although we will see momentarily. Super Chat asks whether I think Bernie talking about the primaries alludes to his past. I do think so. I think that's what he meant.
Fellow Democrats, welcome to Chicago. We're a great American city in a proud blue state. Our patriotism was formed in frost and in fire, and in the steel we forged to survive both. Our love of country has been a tapestry of faith that weaves from Abraham Lincoln reuniting a house divided to Barack Obama declaring blue states and red states make one United States. Now, Illinois' presidential pedigree is unmatched. And given that Vice President Kamala Harris spent some of her early life right here, I speak for the entire Illinois delegation when I say we claim her too. Now, one president we will never claim is the con artist the Republicans nominated in Milwaukee last month. Donald Trump once called Chicago embarrassing. To quote a great Chicagoan who won 6 world championships on these very grounds, we take that personally. I had to govern for 2 years while Trump was president. Let me tell you what's embarrassing. In Illinois, we passed a massive bill to fix our roads and bridges. When Donald Trump proposed his own plan, he turned right around and called it stupid. We eliminated the grocery tax. Donald hasn't been in a grocery store since his first bankruptcy. Illinois invested in clean energy and the jobs it brings. Donald claimed that windmills in the ocean made the whales a little batty. During COVID, we supported small businesses and jobs. And Donald told us to inject bleach. Donald Trump thinks that we should trust him on the economy because he claims to be very rich. But take it from an actual billionaire. Trump is rich in only one thing: stupidity.
For people wondering, Pritzker himself is a billionaire believed to be worth $3.5 billion.
And there's one universal thing they all need: people. They need more workers to fill all the jobs they have. But the anti-freedom, anti-family policies of MAGA Republicans are driving workers away. Here's the thing. Americans don't want to be forced to drive 100 miles to deliver a baby because a draconian abortion law shut down the maternity ward. Americans want the hope of giving birth through IVF, not the fear that it might be taken away. Americans with LGBTQ kids don't want them facing discrimination at school because the state sanctioned it. Americans want to go to their neighborhood grocery store and not have to worry about some random guy open carrying an AR-15. Americans don't want their kids to be taught in history class that slavery was a jobs program. And if Americans are black or brown, they want to get promoted at work without being derided as a DEI hire for the sin of being successful while not white.
Pritzker's good.
Let's be clear. It's not woke that limits economic growth. It's weird. And these guys aren't just weird, they're dangerous. Democrats are for lower taxes and higher wages, less inflation and more business growth. We just think it's wrong to craft those policies for Elon Musk.
and not for everyday working people. That includes a secure retirement and good health care. We think the government should help you prosper, not police who you're sleeping with. More than anything, Democrats want economic policies that are kind, not cruel. But Trump chooses cruelty every time. After all, everything he's achieved in his own life has been by hurting someone else. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, well, they've spent their lives lifting people up, not pushing them down. They know that a White House that leads with kindness looks at someone who is struggling and sees not what they might cost society, but what they might create for it. Americans want...
I think some people in the chat thought the whole billionaire thing is a joke. Pritzker's really a billionaire. He's a multi-billionaire. His family is the Hyatt Hotel family or something like that.
More than anything, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz want a country where we can all live with a little serenity. The serenity that comes with a balanced checkbook, an affordable grocery bill, and a housing market that has room for everyone. And if there's one thing I know about Donald Trump, he's not bringing anyone any kind of serenity. We have a choice, America, between the man who left our country a total mess and the woman who has spent 4 years cleaning it up. And I think it's time we stop expecting women to clean up messes without the authority and the title to match the job. Vice President was a good title for Kamala Harris, but you know an even better one? President of the United States of America. Let's go get him!
Really, really good stuff there from J.B. Pritzker. I like the guy. I think he's a super, super interesting guy. And, you know, as far as billionaires go, very different situation than Donald Trump. I'm getting word from folks in Chicago and through the chat that there is sort of an altercation that's building at the Israeli embassy in Chicago right now, where the anti-Israeli protesters are there. It looks like now there's riot police there. You know, it's sort of like, part of me is just sort of like, I don't know. Okay, cool. I guess it's 7 miles from the convention center. So I don't think it's of particular interest to us, but just as a kind of note, you know, that's where they are. They're over at the Israeli embassy, and I guess they're not voting for Kamala. So, yeah, I don't know.
Democracy is so important. Democracy provides the foundation upon which...
Oh, okay. Between larger speakers here. So Obama has not spoken yet. He will be speaking at some point relatively soon. We have... Wow, a whole bunch of different stuff going on here. Some people are saying Bernie wasn't well received. Was Bernie not well received? I thought he was well received. I don't know. I didn't necessarily get that impression. Let's see what's on the minds of people in the audience here.
Hi, sir. My name is Mr. Paul Hatz, H-A-T said. Mr. Paul Hatz, H-A-T said. I love that you're Argentina and Jewish. I just saw
Actually, I'm going to pause this when I'm reading the transcript, and it's not something that I want to get into.
Hi, David. My name's Conan. I'm from British Columbia, Canada. I am sitting watching C-SPAN. Bernie just finished talking, and wow. I cannot describe to you what's going on in my mind beyond Bernie is not taking names. He is absolutely out to make a difference. It's honestly, I've never seen him this good.
Well, there you go. A very positive review there for Bernie Sanders.
Thanks again, David, for streaming the speeches. I appreciated Sanders going after Big Egg. Do you think Harris and Walz will consider going after Big Mango?
I hope not. We really need to support mangoes at this point, and I really hope that we don't see any anti-mango activity of any kind whatsoever. Drummond Coke says, it doesn't matter what your net worth is. What matters is whether you use your power to lift up those less fortunate. On the other hand, Stephen Curry says, maybe I'm wrong, but Pritzker bragging about being a billionaire while talking about the average American feels gross to me. The way he did it didn't feel gross to me. It seemed like a good critique of Trump, actually, about you don't have to not care about people just because you're a billionaire. You don't have to behave like a moron just because you're a billionaire. And also Trump known to lie about his net worth as well. So I didn't find it problematic. Ohana Boop says, this roast is so well done. Donald is probably grabbing the ketchup as we speak. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine that Trump is pleased with any of what's going on. I just can't imagine that he is. We are next expecting either Governor Grisham of New Mexico or, I don't know, Kenneth Chino, who's speaking now, was not actually on the list that I saw. So we may be starting to kind of get off the schedule to some degree, but we will see momentarily. If you're heading out or moving on, please do remember to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We could potentially get to 2.5 million subscribers before the end of this convention, which would be really, really amazing stuff. So just make sure now or whenever, hit that subscribe button. The subscribers are just rolling in. It's actually shocking. Very, very hard to believe what's going on. We have hold on. Where was the Harris rally? Okay, the Harris rally is over. So now it's just the convention that we are watching and monitoring. Voicemails continue to come in.
David, I'm watching your live coverage of the DNC, and I have to say that I think I officially have just fallen in love with J.B. Pritzker, not because he can get me a good deal in a Hyatt hotel room, but because that man is a future president in this country.
Wow.
Job,
So
sir.
J.B.
Thank you.
Pritzker, very, very strong review there. Melanie says via Super Chat, remember when the Democratic elites crushed Bernie's grassroots movement to force Hillary upon the party? Democracy in action. Yes, a lot of people still very upset about 2016. And I think it's understandable to be upset. And also, I still haven't seen good evidence defending the claim that Bernie obviously would have defeated Trump in 2016 where Hillary lost. I just haven't seen that mathematical case presented. Voicemails are pouring in, folks.
Hola, Mr. Pacman. This is Pedro. ¿Cómo está, Mr. Pacman? I hope you're doing good, I'm just watching your coverage, and I like you, Mr. Pacman. You're so witty and smart and intelligent, and oh, it's so nice. I miss you, Mr. Pacman. Oh, it's so good. Oh, and I listen to Bernie Sanders. Oh, he's so good. He's so angry, and Kamala Harris is kind of cute, and Mr. Walz, he's so cool. Oh, Mr.
Okay, so Pedro is back. Great to hear from him.
Hey, David. With how good the convention has been so far, do you think it would be a good idea to invest in catch-up stocks, considering how much of it's probably being used at Mar-a-Lago right now?
Well, as you all know, I don't recommend investing in any individual stocks. I always recommend just dollar cost averaging into super low cost index funds. You can find them for, single digit basis points. So that would be my recommendation. I wouldn't go in super specifically on catch-up stocks because it can be a very fickle industry. That's for sure. William says, do you think Trump will dump Vance after the DNC And if so, what do you think Harris's plans will change? No, I don't think Trump's going to dump Vance because it would be acknowledging that he made yet another mistake.
Good evening, America. I'm Michelle Lujan Grisham, governor of the great state of New Mexico. And in my state, we like things spicy, a little chili on everything, a little kick in our campaigns. And let me tell you, we are feeling en fuego right now. We are fired up to elect Kamala Harris President of the United States. This election is about protecting our democracy and securing our freedoms, including the right to affordable, quality health care. Now, this issue is personal to Vice President Harris, whose mom passed away after a battle with colon cancer. And it's personal to me. At 2 years old, my sister was diagnosed with a tumor that was incurable and made her uninsurable by the time she was 3. And it's personal to Americans across the country who know what it's like when someone they love gets sick. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance want to dismantle our healthcare system, repeal the Affordable Care Act, and eliminate protections for pre-existing conditions. Either these guys don't get it, or they just don't care. You know who gets it? Kamala Harris gets it, and she cares. As Attorney General, she took on drug companies that jacked up prices and hospitals that overcharged patients. And when Republicans tried to kill the Affordable Care Act, she stood up in the Senate, voting not just no, but hell no. And Kamala Harris hasn't just stopped Republicans from making our healthcare system worse. She fights every day to make it better. And I know, I spent 20 years working to get Medicare the ability to negotiate lower drug prices. As Vice President, Kamala Harris delivered it. You know what Donald Trump delivered? Junk plans, higher premiums, and abortion bans. And if you don't think a second term would be worse, then I've got a box of Trump steaks to sell you. We have not just a better choice. America, we have the best choice. Yes, we do. Kamala Harris will protect your right to care. She'll cap drug costs. She'll go after corporate price gougers, and ensure every woman who needs it can access reproductive health care. That's the president I want. And that's the president America needs. And with your help, that's the next president of the United States. President Kamala Harris.
All right.
I love you too. Y en español, los quiero. So, my mom, like Kamala's mom, got sick. When my mom died in 2021, Kamala called me. She had lost her mother to cancer in 2009. Kamala helped me navigate my grief. She said that heartbreak and loss are the price for having loved and having been loved. How I wish our mothers could be here to see this moment. In the next 4 years, America will invariably have moments of great sadness and pain in our country. Some will be natural disasters. Some will be man-made disasters. We need a president who can not only be commander-in-chief, but also consoler-in-chief. We need a president with empathy, capable of lifting us up when we are down. We need a president who is capable of holding us in a big, great hug when we need it. That is Kamala Harris. Donald Trump is only capable of holding two things, a grudge and a golf club.
Wow. All right, we are now entering the 10 p.m. Eastern hour, where a number of different speakers are expected, including, based on the official schedule, Angela Alsobrooks, Mayor John Giles, Senator Tammy Duckworth, Doug Emhoff, and Michelle Obama. And subsequently, we will be hearing from former President Barack Obama. So much interest in what's happening here from all sorts of different areas and venues. Let's see if we can sneak in one extra voicemail.
Yo, David, it's Gigi from Florida, specifically West Palm. So, I'm very tied in and tapped in with what's going on with Trump. Obviously, I see a lot of Mar-a-Lago, home of a fraud, the weird billboard, all this stuff. It really impacts me because I live in South Florida. I know Florida is a huge...
Okay, I'm reading ahead. This goes on for 3 minutes, and they actually don't get anywhere. Let's listen to one other.
Hi, David. I'm watching your stream, and I'm seeing a lot of good things. The only thing that I kind of have an issue with is, and it pains me to say, sir, David, sir, is it ketchup or is it catsup? I really, really need the answer, David.
I don't know anything about catsup. Maybe it's from growing up in the Northeast, but I always thought it was a joke. I couldn't even really, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Annie Lillian Sepikoff says, I know the DNC is primarily focused on the presidential VP nominations, but I wish more speakers would remind us of the importance of down ballot votes too. Yeah, I mean, many speakers have, but you could always have more. That's for sure. Nathan says, random question. Do you have a favorite dog breed? No, I don't. What I can tell you is I'm not into those little dogs, the little yelping, annoying dogs. I'm not into that. But I wouldn't say I have a favorite breed. David says, sir, do you think Biden will fly in to take back the nomination? Yeah, I love that, as you watch everything that's going on, the idea, the conspiracy theory from some on the right, that Biden's desperate to get the nomination back, especially after what we saw yesterday, and he's going to try to take it or something like that. It's like, what? It's same idea that Michelle Obama is going to swoop in and she's going to be forced to be the nominee, or she's going to take the nomination. It's just, these things are so obviously not happening that it makes it almost hard to take them seriously when they bring it up. Simo Mob says, hey, David, Omamna. I don't have that. I have this.
Obama.
But Omamna, I'm not familiar with. If you're just joining the stream, it is roughly after 10 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. in the West, and we are building towards a speech from former President Barack Obama. We have a secret unpublished coupon code today for memberships. It's DNC Not Weird. DNC Not Weird. Let's take a listen.
Good evening, America, and hello, Maryland. People like me, thank you. People like me, stories like mine, don't usually make it to the United States Senate, but they should. I'm the proud granddaughter of a housekeeper, Sarah Daisy, who raised her 3 children in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was her dream to work in government to help people. That meant taking a typing test, but she didn't know how to type, and she couldn't afford a typewriter. So she put a white piece of paper on the refrigerator and drew a keyboard on it. And every night, she stood in front of that refrigerator and taught herself to type. She took the test, passed it, and got the job she dreamed of. I am her legacy. And tonight, I am a candidate for United States Senate from the great state of Maryland. I've always been inspired by women like my grandmother, women who imagine a better future and then have the grit to make it a reality. One of those women is a friend, a mentor, and a role model. That woman is Kamala Harris. Let me tell you about the Kamala I've known for 14 years. I first heard about her in 2009 when I was running for state's attorney in Prince George's County, Maryland. I read a story in Essence magazine about a district attorney in San Francisco using new ideas to keep her community safe. Few had a better record prosecuting violent crime. She put rapists, child molesters, and murderers behind bars. But what she knew was that violent crime accounts for about 30% of all crimes. For the 70% that are nonviolent, she created a first-of-its-kind program called Back on Track. After serving time and pleading guilty, these low-level offenders would get the job training, GED help, and apprenticeships they needed to find a job. The result? The recidivism rate plummeted. Now, after reading about this super bad district attorney, I talked nonstop about her on the campaign trail. 2 days after I won the election, my phone rings. It's Kamala Harris calling to congratulate me and ask how she could help. She helped me bring Back on Track to Maryland. And wouldn't you know it, crime went down and economic growth went up. Back on Track is now a national model. Now Donald Trump says if Kamala Harris is elected, tough guys will treat her like a play toy. Do you know who else thought that? The drug cartels she busted, the big oil companies she made pay for polluting, the big banks that she made pay $20 billion to homeowners they ripped off. Getting justice for others isn't a power trip for her. It's a sacred calling. And hear me, Kamala Harris knows how to keep criminals off the streets. And come November, with your help, she'll keep one out of the Oval Office. Ever since Donald Trump rode down that ridiculous escalator We as a nation have felt trapped. Every national decision has been made in reaction to this one man and his extremist MAGA movement. We are still frozen by the fear that Donald Trump might once again come to power. And it's not just our politics that have been trapped, it's our imagination. And then Kamala came along. Kamala has reminded us that we don't need to fear anything, not the future, and certainly not that man. This is our moment to leave Donald Trump where he belongs, in America's past. We stand with Kamala Harris because we as a country are not going back. For the ancestors who sat at lunch counters and made sure that we all had the right to vote, we are not going back. For the mamas and grandmamas who marched to make sure that women could control our own bodies, we are not going back. For the parents who work from can't see in the morning until can't see at night, not so that they will have a better future, but so that their children will have a better life. We are not going back. When facing an obstacle, my father has often said to me, your faith is stronger than your fears.
Yes, some people, I agree with the people in the chat who are saying this is a fine speech, but it's just sort of like, you really want, it's 10:15 on the East Coast. For most people, you kind of need to be getting to the core thing. And the reports I'm getting from people in Chicago are that this is just horribly mismanaged and everything's getting delayed. You should be having Obama rap before the 11 p.m. news so that it makes the 11 p.m. news. Like, this is all just completely backwards, you know? I don't know. I happen to agree. I think, and you see it from viewer numbers and you see it in demographics and all these different things. It does seem like this is either scheduled to be way too long or getting delayed in a way that's beyond anybody's ability to control it. But I don't think it's like we should be on at minimum Michelle Obama right now. Obama should probably be out speaking.
Thank you so much.
Please welcome Mesa, Arizona Mayor John Giles.
Republican mayor, by the way.
Good evening. I have a confession to make. I'm a lifelong Republican. So I feel a little out of place tonight, but I feel more at home here than in today's Republican Party. The grand old party has been kidnapped by extremists and devolved into a cult. The cult of Donald Trump. Trump doesn't know the first thing about public service. Like a child, he acts purely out of self-interest. We all need an adult in the White House, and we've seen what happens when we don't have one. Trump made a lot of lofty promises: unlimited economic growth, American manufacturing reborn, a secure border. Turns out Donald Trump was all talk. He wanted our votes, but he couldn't deliver a thing. But these days, my city of Mesa, Arizona is on the move. I'm going to ribbon cuttings every single week, all because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris reached across the aisle and they delivered for my conservative community and countless more across the country. My hero, John McCain, taught us to put country over party. And that's how Vice President Harris and Governor Walz will lead too. I have an urgent message for the majority of Americans who, like me, are in the political middle. John McCain's Republican Party is gone, and we don't owe a damn thing to what's been left behind.
Wow.
So let's turn the page. Let's put country first. Let's put adults in the room where our country deserves. Thank you.
All right, nice. See, that's what I'm talking about. You keep it nice and tight. The crowd likes it. We move on with the night. I'm a fan of that.
To have a large family.
Being a parent, it's the most important thing in my life.
For decades, Americans have turned to the...
Oh, I guess I have a moment to do a couple thank yous. Thank you to Mick Noya as well as Kimberly Fitch for signing up on my website. The absolute best way to support us and the continued streaming of every night of this event is to sign up at joinpacman.com. You can go there and you can use the coupon code. This isn't published anywhere. The code is DNC not weird. You can also, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Look at how close we're getting to 2.5 million, which would be an incredible milestone. And of course, we'll be here tomorrow as well as Thursday. A few super chats coming in. Kritika, we can call Trump felon. Yes. How much would you pay to have Trump wiped from our collective memory as if he never existed? I don't know that that's the type of thing that would be achieved just by me paying. Let me put it that way. Super Dan says, David, coming to you with peace and love, I justify my left leanings by arguing that taxes should have a high ROI. It's an effective argument. Would this work when talking to someone like PBD? Well, he would just argue you're never going to get a good ROI when it's government, and that therefore taxes should be lower and the things government does should be mostly left to private industry. I think that's likely the argument that he would make. All right, coming up next, scheduled to be, and it is indeed, Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois.
I went to war to protect America's rights and freedoms. So I take it personally when a five-time draft-dodging coward like Donald Trump tries to take away my rights and freedoms in return, especially when it concerns my daughters. My girls, gamer girl Abigail and queen of the monkey bars, Miley, are everything to me. But they would never have been born without access to reproductive care. Because after 10 years of struggling with infertility, I was only able to have them through the miracle of IVF. But now, Trump's anti-woman crusade has put other Americans' right to have their own families at risk. Because if they win, Republicans will not stop at banning abortion. They will come for IVF next. They'll prosecute doctors. They will shame and spy on women. And if you think that's far-fetched, just look up what happened in Alabama last year. So let me say to every would-be parent, I see you, I'm with you. And together, in November, we'll send a message to old Cadet Bone Spurs. Stay out of our doctors' offices, and where you're at it, out of the Oval Office too. Look, My struggle with infertility was more painful than any wound I earned on the battlefield. So how dare a convicted felon like Donald Trump treat women seeking health care like they're the ones breaking the law? How dare J.D. Vance criticize childless women on cable news, then vote against legislation that would have actually helped Americans to start families? How dare the GOP endanger the dreams of countless veterans whose combat wounds prevent them from having kids without IVF, punishing our heroes for their willingness to serve? It's simple. Every American deserves the right to be called mommy or daddy without being treated like a criminal. Kamala Harris believes that. So let's make some history and elect her in November. God bless America.
Excellent. She's excellent. She's awesome. Nice short speech. Just very good. Very, very good. And just really a contrast, by the way, with Cadet Bone Spurs there. Scheduled next is Douglas Emhoff, who are these pictures of him? I think they are. Yes. And we will be seeing him momentarily. Thanks to Sarah Legere, Jamie Larson, and Claudia Prince for grabbing new memberships at joinpacman.com. Camus says, hooray for my Senator Duckworth, ripping Donald J. Trump a new hole. Whoa, that's edgy.
And he's going to represent you long and hard.
Exactly. And maybe I have one more Trump thing for us here. What do I have? Must have some extra Trump.
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times.
There you go. Also, big thank you to Ripper211 and Robot Dinosaur over on Twitch. I appreciate you guys very, very much. We are standing by for just our final three speakers, Doug Emhoff, Michelle Obama, and former President Barack Obama, who will be speaking sometime over the next several hours. Yes, new show tomorrow, of course. Let's see if I have a voicemail here.
I love the Pacman show, but I wish that we would address sinks and faucets. I know a lot of people around the country that they turn it on and we got nothing going on here, David.
Yep.
And I don't even want to mention the third thing.
Yeah, the third element of the bathroom that people sometimes don't want to talk about. That's true.
Hi, David. I was wondering if you could break down, like, what is possible with the blue wave coming, if Kamala Harris wins the nomination for president, and, you know, the Democrats win the House and the Senate, what is possible as far as health care and gun reform and, you know, just everything that we hope and dream for, what is possible in the next 4 to 8 years?
All right, that's a very good topic idea, and I think very much worth doing.
I mean, just look at this face. This is my dad, the first second gentleman in the history of this nation. He's found his voice around the issues that matter to him.
You have no choice but to speak up and speak out.
There is an epidemic of hate, including a crisis of anti-Semitism in our country and around the world.
What they are doing on reproductive freedom and freedom in general is just outrageous.
And next, he's going to make history again as the first gentleman. I can't wait for everyone to get to know why we all love him.
I'm about
He's
to lose the light
glue that
again.
keeps
Oh,
this
no.
family together. We might not look like other families in the
Hanging
White
by a
House,
thread, folks.
but we are ready to represent all families in America.
Very nice video.
Please welcome my dad, the second gentleman of the United States, Doug Emhoff.
Wow.
I guess he didn't want me to give this speech. He just... Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello. Thank you. Hello to my big, beautiful, blended family up there. I love you so much. Aren't you proud of Cole? Wow. And a special shout out to my mother. I see you. My mother is the only person in the whole world who thinks Kamala is the lucky one for marrying me.
That's a
And
Jewish
to
mom joke if
Kamala,
I've ever
who-
heard one.
Well, we just saw where she is. She's out on the trail listening to and talking with voters. Honey, I can't wait for you to come back to Chicago because we're having a great time here. I love you so much. I'm so proud of how you're stepping up for all of us. But that's who she is. Wherever she's needed, however she's needed, Kamala rises to the occasion. And she did it for me and our family. And now that the country needs her, she's showing you what we already know. She's ready to lead. She brings both joy and toughness to this task, and she will be a great president we will all be proud of. Now, I'm the son of two Brooklynites, Mike and Barb. They've been together almost 70 years. My dad worked in the shoe business in Manhattan, and he moved our family out to New Jersey.
Wow, that is wild.
Where's New Jersey? I see you out there. When I was a little kid, and in a lot of ways, I had a typical Jersey suburban childhood. I biked around the neighborhood. I took the bus to Hebrew school. And I rode to Little League practice in the way back of my coach's wood-paneled station wagon. And if we did well, we got to have a Slurpee after. In my neighborhood, everyone left their garage door open. Wherever you ended up at dinner time, that's the family that fed you. Everyone took care of everyone else. And the guys I grew up with are still my best friends. The group chat is active every day, and it's probably blowing up right now, guys. When my dad had to get a new job, we moved across the country to LA. Money was tight. Hey, California. Money was tight, so I worked at McDonald's in high school for some extra cash. Not only was I Employee of the Month, but I still have the framed picture, which you just saw, and there was a ring, golden arches and all. And then I waited tables, parked cars. I was working full-time so I could afford to go to college part-time. And thanks to partial scholarships, student loans, and a little help from my dad, I got myself through law school. And I got my first job as a lawyer, which is also where I met the guys in my fantasy football league. And a lot has changed in our lives since the early 90s, but my team name is still Nirvana. Yes, after the band. I worked hard, and I love being a lawyer. And by the way, I still get to be part of the profession by teaching students at Georgetown Law School. I got married, became a dad to Cole and Ella. Unfortunately, I went through a divorce. but eventually started worrying about how I would make it all work. And that's when something unexpected happened. In 2013, I walked into a contentious client meeting. We worked through the issue, and by the end of the meeting, the now happy client offered to set me up on a blind date, which is how I ended up with Kamala Harris's phone number. Now, for generations, people have debated when to call the person you're being set up with. And never in history has anyone suggested 8:30 a.m. And yet, that's when I dialed. I got Kamala's voicemail, and I just started rambling. Hey, it's Doug. I'm on my way to an early meeting. Again, it's Doug. I remember I was trying to grab the words out of the air and just put them back in my mouth. And for what seemed like far too many minutes, I hung up. By the way, Kamala saved that voicemail, and she makes me listen to it on every anniversary. But that message wasn't the only unusual thing about that day. Now, Kamala, who normally would have been working hard at her office, just happened to be waiting at her apartment for a contractor to do some work on her kitchen. I was eating at my desk, which was not a regular occurrence for a busy lawyer like me who appreciated a good business lunch. But that's when she called me back. And we talked for an hour, and we laughed. Well, you know that laugh. I love that laugh.
Trump doesn't.
And maybe that counted as our first date. Or maybe it was that Saturday night when I picked her up and told her, buckle up, I'm a really bad driver. Because you can't hide anything from Kamala Harris, so you might as well own it. And as I got to know her better and just fell in love fast, I learned what drives Kamala. And it's what you've seen over these past 4 years, and especially these past 4 weeks. She finds joy in pursuing justice. She stands up to bullies just like my parents taught me to. And she likes to see people do well, but hates when they're treated unfairly. She believes this work requires a basic curiosity in just how people are doing. Her empathy is her strength. Over the past decade, Kamala has connected me more deeply to my faith, even though it's not the same as hers. She comes to synagogue with me for high holiday services, and I go to church with her for Easter. I get to enjoy her mom's chili relleno recipe every Christmas, and she makes a mean brisket for Passover. It brings me right back to my grandmother's apartment in Brooklyn, you know, the one with the plastic-covered couches.
Those Passover briskets are very good.
Has fought against anti-Semitism and all forms of hate her whole career. She's the one who encouraged me as second gentleman to take up that fight, which is so personal to me. And those of you who belong to blended families know that they can be a little complicated. But as soon as our kids started calling her Mamala, I knew we'd be okay. Ella calls us a three-headed parenting machine. Kamala and Kirsten, thank you both. Thank you both for always putting your family and the kids first. Now, Cole and Ella's friends knew that when they'd come over for Sunday dinner with Mamala, it was going to be real talk. In between taking cooking instructions, they'd have to answer questions about what problem they wanted to solve in the world. They learned that you've always got to be prepared because Kamala is going to prosecute the case. And in the same breath that Cole and Greenlee told us that they were engaged, they asked Kamala to officiate their wedding. And in the same way that she always steps up when it matters, Kamala put so much time into those remarks, and she bound them in a book that matched her dark red dress, and then turned that into a gift for the happy couple. A few days ago, during this incredible time we're going through, there was a brief window when Kamala was back at home. And I saw her sitting on her favorite chair, and in the middle of a wild month, I just hoped that she was having a quiet moment to herself. But then I realized she was on the phone. And of course, my mind went to all the potential crises that the vice president could be dealing with. Was it domestic? Was it foreign? Was it campaign? I could see she was focused, and all I knew was that it must be something important. And it turns out it was. Ella had called her. That's Kamala. That's Kamala. Those kids are her priorities, and that scene was a perfect map of her heart. She's always been there for our children, and I know she'll always be there for yours too. Kamala is a joyful warrior. It's doing for her country what she has always done for the people that she loves. Her passion will benefit all of us when she's our president. And here's the thing about joyful warriors. They're still warriors. And Kamala is as tough as it comes. Just ask the criminals, the global gangsters, and the witnesses before the Senate Judiciary Committee. She never runs from a fight. And she knows the best way to deal with a coward is to take him head on. Because we all know cowards are weak, and Kamala Harris can smell weakness. She doesn't tolerate any BS. You've all seen that look, and you know that look I'm talking about. That look is not just a meme. It reflects her true belief in honest and direct leadership. And it's also why she will not be distracted by nonsense. Kamala knows that in order to win, we cannot lose focus. America, in this election, you have to decide who to trust with your family's future. I trusted Kamala with our family's future. It was the best decision I ever made. This Thursday will be our 10th wedding anniversary, which I know it means I'm about to hear that embarrassing voicemail again. However, that's not all I'll be hearing. That same night, I'll be hearing my wife, Kamala Harris, accept your nomination for President of the United States. And with your help, she will lead with joy and toughness, with that laugh and that look, with compassion and conviction. She'll lead from the belief that wherever we come from, whatever we look like, we're strongest when we fight for what we believe in, not just against what we fear. Kamala Harris was exactly the right person for me at an important moment in my life. And at this moment in our nation's history, she is exactly the right president. Thank you so much.
Excellent, excellent speech. I find Doug Emhoff extraordinarily personable, gregarious, good stories, funny. I'd vote for him. Really, really good. Really, really excellent. I don't even understand. I guess, are there other kids that are from his first wife's later relationship? I don't even know who they all were. I don't care. Very, very good. And just very solid, very solid. So now we look forward to Michelle Obama and former President Barack Obama, which I can only imagine will be very interesting. Let's listen. Republicans who have been saying she will actually be the nominee, Michelle Obama, are going to be very disappointed a few minutes from now.
Obama.
All right. Something wonderfully magical is in the air, isn't it? Yeah. You know, we're feeling it here in this arena, but it's spreading all across this country we love. A familiar feeling that's been buried too deep for far too long. You know what I'm talking about. It's the contagious power of hope. The anticipation, the energy, the exhilaration of once again being on the cusp of a brighter day. The chance to vanquish the demons of fear, division, and hate that have consumed us and continue pursuing the unfinished promise of this great nation, the dream that our parents and grandparents fought and died and sacrificed for. America, hope is making a comeback. Yeah. But to be honest, I am realizing that until recently, I have mourned the dimming of that hope. And maybe you've experienced the same feelings. Is that deep pit in my stomach, a palpable sense of dread about the future. And for me, that mourning has also been mixed with my own personal grief. The last time I was here in my hometown was to memorialize my mother, the woman who showed me the meaning of hard work and humility and decency, the woman who set my moral compass high and showed me the power of my own voice. Folks, I still feel her loss so profoundly. I wasn't even sure if I'd be steady enough to stand before you tonight, but my heart compelled me to be here because of the sense of duty that I feel to honor her memory and to remind us all not to squander the sacrifices our elders made to give us a better future. You see, my mom, in her steady, quiet way, lived out that striving sense of hope every single day of her life. She believed that all children, all people have value, that anyone can succeed if given the opportunity. She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed. They understood that it wasn't enough for their kids to thrive if everyone else around us was drowning. So my mother volunteered at the local school. She always looked out for the other kids on the block. She was glad to do the thankless, unglamorous work that for generations has strengthened the fabric of this nation. The belief that if you do unto others, if you love thy neighbor, if you work and scrape and sacrifice, it will pay off. If not for you, then maybe for your children or your grandchildren. You see, those values have been passed on through family farms and factory towns, through tree-lined streets and crowded tenements, through prayer groups and National Guard units and social studies classrooms. Those were the values my mother poured into me until her very last breath. Kamala Harris and I built our lives on those same foundational values. Even though our mothers grew up an ocean apart, they shared the same belief in the promise of this country. That's why her mother moved here from India at 19. It's why she taught Kamala about justice, about the obligation to lift others up, about our responsibility to give more than we take. She'd often tell her daughter, "Don't sit around and complain about things, do something." So, with that voice in her head, Kamala went out and she worked hard in school, graduating from an HBCU, earning her law degree at a state school. And then she went on to work for the people, fighting to hold lawbreakers accountable, strengthening the rule of law, fighting to get folks better wages, cheaper prescription drugs, a good education, decent health care, child care, elder care. From a middle-class household, Kamala worked her way up to become Vice President of the United States of America. My girl, Kamala Harris, is more than ready for this moment. She is one of the most qualified people ever to seek the office of the presidency. And she is one of the most dignified. A tribute to her mother, to my mother, and to your mother too. The embodiment of the stories we tell ourselves about this country. Her story is your story. It's my story. It's the story of the vast majority of Americans trying to build a better life. Look, Kamala knows, like we do, that regardless of where you come from, what you look like, who you love, how you worship, or what's in your bank account, we all deserve the opportunity to build a decent life. All of our contributions deserve to be accepted and valued. Because no one has a monopoly on what it means to be an American. No one. Kamala has shown her allegiance to this nation, not by spewing anger and bitterness, but by living a life of service and always pushing the doors of opportunity open to others. She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth. If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance. If things don't go our way, we don't have the luxury of whining or cheating others to get further ahead. No. We don't get to change the rules so we always win. If we see a mountain in front of us, we don't expect there to be an escalator waiting to take us to the top. No. We put our heads down. We get to work. In America, we do something. And throughout her entire life, that's what we've seen from Kamala Harris. The steel of her spine, the steadiness of her upbringing, the honesty of her example, and yes, the joy of her laughter and her light. It couldn't be more obvious. Of the two major candidates in this race, only Kamala Harris truly understands the unseen labor and unwavering commitment that has always made America great. Now, unfortunately, we know what comes next. We know folks are going to do everything they can to distort her truth. My husband and I sadly know a little something about this. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black.
Yes, indeed.
Wait. I want to know. I want to know. Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
Oh, man. That is rich.
Look, it's his same old con.
Oh, that is good.
His same old con. Doubling down on ugly, misogynistic, racist lies as a substitute for real ideas and solutions that will actually make people's lives better. Look, because cutting our health care, taking away our freedom to control our bodies, the freedom to become a mother through IVF like I did, those things are not going to improve the health outcomes of our wives, mothers, and daughters. Shutting down the Department of Education, banning our books, none of that will prepare our kids for the future. Demonizing our children for being who they are and loving who they love, look, that doesn't make anybody's life better. Instead, it only makes us small. And let me tell you this, going small is never the answer. Going small is the opposite of what we teach our kids. Going small is petty, it's unhealthy, and quite frankly, it's unpresidential. So, why would any of us accept this from anyone seeking our highest office? Why would we normalize that type of backward leadership? Doing so only demeans and cheapens our politics. It only serves to further discourage good, big-hearted people from wanting to get involved at all. America, our parents taught us better than that, and we deserve so much better than that. That's why we must do everything in our power to elect two of those good, big-hearted people. There is no other choice than Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. No other choice. But as we embrace this renewed sense of hope, let us not forget the despair we have felt. Let us not forget what we are up against. Yes, Kamala and Tim are doing great now. We're loving it. They're packing arenas across the country. Folks are energized. We are feeling good. But remember, there are still so many people who are desperate for a different outcome, who are ready to question and criticize every move Kamala makes, who are eager to spread those lies, who don't want to vote for a woman, who will continue to prioritize building their wealth over ensuring that everyone has enough. So no matter how good we feel tonight or tomorrow or the next day, this is going to be an uphill battle. So folks, we cannot be our own worst enemies. No. See, because the minute something goes wrong, the minute a lie takes hold, folks, we cannot start wringing our hands. We cannot get a Goldilocks complex about whether everything is just right.
Very well said.
And we cannot indulge our anxieties about whether this country will elect someone like Kamala instead of doing everything we can to get someone like Kamala elected. Kamala and Tim, they have lived amazing lives. And I am confident that they will lead with compassion, inclusion, and grace. But they are still only human. They are not perfect. And like all of us, they will make mistakes. But luckily, y'all, this is not just on them. No, this is up to us, all of us, to be the solution that we seek. It's up to all of us to be the antidote to the darkness and division. Look, I don't care how you identify politically, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, or none of the above. This is our time to stand up for what we know in our hearts is right. To stand up, not just for our basic freedoms, but for decency and humanity, for basic respect, dignity, and empathy, for the values at the very foundation of this democracy. It's up to us to remember what Kamala's mother told her. Don't just sit around and complain, do something. So if they lie about her, and they will, we've got to do something. If we see a bad poll, and we will, we got to put down that phone and do something. If we start feeling tired, if we start feeling that dread creeping back in, we got to pick ourselves up, throw water on our face, and what? We only have 2.5 months, y'all, to get this done. Only 11 weeks to make sure every single person we know is registered and has a voting plan. So, we cannot afford for anyone America to sit on their hands and wait to be called. Don't complain if no one from the campaign has specifically reached out to you to ask you for your support. There is simply no time for that kind of foolishness. You know what you need to do. So, consider this to be your official ask. Michelle Obama is asking you, no, I'm telling y'all to do something. Because you all, this election is going to be close. In some states, just a handful, listen to me, a handful of votes in every precinct could decide the winner. So we need to vote in numbers that erase any doubt. We need to overwhelm any effort to suppress us. Our fate is in our hands. In 77 days, we have the power to turn our country away from the fear, division, and smallness of the past. We have the power to marry our hope with our action. We have the power to pay forward the love, sweat, and sacrifice of our mothers and fathers and all those who came before us. We did it before, y'all, and we sure can do it again. Let us work like our lives depend on it. And let us keep moving our country forward and go higher, yes, always higher than we've ever gone before as we elect the next president and vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Thank you all. God bless.
Excellent speech, extraordinarily normal, not weird, tremendous public speaker, and making not only a bunch of critical...
Now, before I go, I have one more job tonight. One more job. You all, thank you for all the love, but it is now my honor to introduce somebody who knows a whole lot about hope. Someone who has spent his life strengthening our democracy, and let me tell you, as someone who lives with him, he wakes up every day, and thinks about what's best for this country.
Obama.
Please welcome America's 44th president and the love of my life, Barack Obama.
Wow.
Chicago! Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. All right. That's enough. Thank you. Chicago, it's good to be home. It is good to be home, and I don't know about you, but I'm feeling fired up. I am feeling ready to go. Even if I am the only person stupid enough to speak after Michelle Obama. I am feeling hopeful because this convention has always been pretty good to kids with funny names who believe in a country where anything is possible. Because we have a chance to elect someone who has spent her entire life trying to give people the same chances America gave her. Someone who sees you and hears you and will get up every single day and fight for you. The next president of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. It's been 16 years since I had the honor of accepting this party's nomination for president. And I know that's hard to believe because I have not aged a bit. But it's true. And looking back, I can say without question that my first big decision as your nominee turned out to be one of my best. And that was asking Joe Biden to serve by my side as vice president. Other than some common Irish blood, Joe and I come from different backgrounds, but we became brothers. And as we worked together for 8, sometimes pretty tough years, what I came to admire most about Joe wasn't just his smarts, his experience. It was his empathy and his decency and his hard-earned resilience, his unshakable belief that everyone in this country deserves a fair shot. And over the last 4 years, those are the values America has needed most. At a time when millions of our fellow citizens were sick and dying, we needed a leader with the character to put politics aside and do what was right. At a time when our economy was reeling, we needed a leader with the determination to drive what would become the world's strongest recovery. 15 million jobs, higher wages, lower health care costs. At a time when the other party had turned into a cult of personality, we needed a leader who was steady and brought people together and was selfless enough to do the rarest thing there is in politics, putting his own ambition aside for the sake of the country. History will remember Joe Biden as an outstanding president who defended democracy at a moment of great danger. And I am proud to call him my president, but I am even prouder to call him my friend. Now, the torch has been passed. Now it is up to all of us to fight for the America we believe in. And make no mistake, it will be a fight. For all the incredible energy we've been able to generate over the last few weeks, for all the rallies and the memes, this will still be a tight race in a closely divided country.
Yes, it will.
A country where too many Americans are still struggling, where a lot of Americans don't believe government can help. And as we gather here tonight, the people who will decide this election are asking a very simple question. Who will fight for me? Who's thinking about my future, about my children's future, about our future together? One thing is for certain, Donald Trump is not losing sleep over that question. Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances that's actually been getting worse now that he's afraid of losing to Kamala. There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
Oh, man. That's rich. Had to do it. Had to do it.
It just goes on
I like
and on and on. The other day I heard someone compare Trump to the neighbor who keeps running his leaf blower outside your window every minute of every day. Now, from a neighbor, that's exhausting. From a president, it's just dangerous. The truth is, Donald Trump sees power as nothing more than it means to his ends. He wants the middle class to pay the price for another huge tax cut that would mostly help him and his rich friends. He killed a bipartisan immigration deal written in part by one of the most conservative Republicans in Congress that would have helped secure our southern border because he thought trying to actually solve the problem would hurt his campaign. He doesn't. Do not boo. Vote. He doesn't seem to care if more women lose their reproductive freedom since it won't affect his life. And most of all, Donald Trump wants us to think that this country is hopelessly divided between us and them, between the real Americans, who of course support him, and the outsiders who don't. And he wants you to think that you'll be richer and safer if you will just give him the power to put those other people back in their place. It is one of the oldest tricks in politics from a guy whose act has, let's face it, gotten pretty stale. We do not need 4 more years of bluster and bumbling and chaos. We have seen that movie before, and we all know that the sequel is usually worse.
Very true.
America's ready for a new chapter. America's ready for a better story. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris is ready for the job. This is a person who has spent her life fighting on behalf of people who need a voice and a champion. As you heard from Michelle, Kamala was not born into privilege. She had to work for what she's got. And she actually cares about what other people are going through. She's not the neighbor running the leaf blower. She's the neighbor rushing over to help when you need a hand. As a prosecutor, Kamala stood up for children who had been victims of sexual abuse. As an attorney general of the most populous state in the country, she fought big banks and for-profit colleges, securing billions of dollars for the people they had scammed. After the home mortgage crisis, she pushed me and my administration hard to make sure homeowners got a fair settlement. Didn't matter that I was a Democrat. Didn't matter that she had knocked on doors for my campaign in Iowa. She was going to fight to get as much relief as possible for the families who deserved it. As vice president, she helped take on the drug companies to cap the cost of insulin, lower the cost of health care, give families with kids a tax cut. And she is running for president with real plans to lower costs even more and protect Medicare and Medicaid and sign a law to guarantee every woman's right to make her own health care decisions. In other words, Kamala Harris won't be focused on her problems. She'll be focused on yours. As president, she won't just cater to her own supporters and punish those who refuse to kiss the ring or bend the knee. She'll work on behalf of every American. That's who Kamala is. And in the White House, she will have an outstanding partner in Governor Tim Walz. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I love this guy. Tim is the kind of person who should be in politics. Born in a small town, served his country, taught kids, coached football, took care of his neighbors. He knows who he is, and he knows what's important. You can tell those flannel shirts he wears don't come from some political consultant. They come from his closet, and they have been through some stuff. They have been through some stuff. That's right. Together, Kamala and Tim have kept faith with America's central story. A story that says we are all created equal. All of us endowed with certain inalienable rights, that everyone deserves a chance, that even when we don't agree with each other, we can find a way to live with each other. That's Kamala's vision. That's Tim's vision. That's the Democratic Party's vision. And our job over the next 11 weeks is to convince as many people as possible to vote for that vision. Now, it won't be easy. The other side knows it's easier to play on people's fears and cynicism, always has been. They will tell you that government is inherently corrupt, that sacrifice and generosity are for suckers. And since the game is rigged, it's okay to take what you want and just look after your own. That's the easy path. We have a different task. Our job is to convince people that democracy can actually deliver. And in doing that, we can't just point to what we've already accomplished. We can't just rely on the ideas of the past. We need to chart a new way forward to meet the challenges of today. And Kamala understands this. She knows, for example, that if we want to make it easier for more young people to buy a home, we need to build more units and clear away some of the outdated laws and regulations that made it harder to build homes for working people in this country. That is a priority, and she's put out a bold new plan to do just that. On health care, we should all be proud of the enormous progress that we've made through the Affordable Care Act, providing millions of people access to affordable coverage, protecting millions more from unscrupulous insurance practices. I noticed, by the way, that since it's become popular, they don't call it Obamacare no more. But Kamala knows we can't stop there, which is why she'll keep working to limit out-of-pocket costs. Kamala knows that if we want to help people get ahead, we need to put a college degree within reach of more Americans. But she also knows college shouldn't be the only ticket to the middle class.
Right.
We need to follow the lead of governors like Tim Walz, who said, if you've got the skills and the drive, you shouldn't need a degree to work for state government. And in this new economy, we need a president who actually cares about the millions of people all across this country who wake up every single day to do the essential, often thankless work, to care for our sick to clean our streets, to deliver our packages. We need a president who will stand up for their right to bargain for better wages and working conditions. And Kamala will be that president. Yes, she can. Yes, she can. A Harris-Walz administration can help us move past some of the tired old debates that keep stifling progress. Because at their core, Kamala and Tim understand that when everybody gets a fair shot, we are all better off. They understand that when every child gets a good education, the whole economy gets stronger. When women are paid the same as men for doing the same job, all families benefit. They understand that we can secure our borders without tearing kids away from their parents, just like we can keep our streets safe while also building trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve and eliminating bias. That will make it better for everybody. Donald Trump and his well-heeled donors, they don't see the world that way. For them, one group's gains is necessarily another group's loss. For them, freedom means that the powerful can do pretty much what they please, whether it's fire workers trying to organize a union or put poison in our rivers or avoid paying taxes like everybody else has to do. Well, we have a broader idea of freedom. We believe in the freedom to provide for your family if you're willing to work hard. The freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water and send your kids to school without worrying if they'll come home. We believe that true freedom gives each of us the right to make decisions about our own life, how we worship, what our family looks like, how many kids we have, who we marry. And we believe that freedom requires us to recognize that other people have the freedom to make choices that are different than ours. That's okay. That's the America Kamala Harris and Tim Walz believe in. An America where we, the people, includes everyone. Because that's the only way this American experiment works. And despite what our politics might suggest, I think most Americans understand that. Democracy isn't just a bunch of abstract principles and dusty laws in some book somewhere. It's the values we live by. It's the way we treat each other, including those who don't look like us, or pray like us, or see the world exactly like we do. That sense of mutual respect has to be part of our message. Our politics have become so polarized these days that all of us across the political spectrum seem so quick to assume the worst in others, unless they agree with us on every single issue. We start thinking that the only way to win is to scold and shame and out-yell the other side. And after a while, regular folks just tune out, or they don't bother to vote. Now, that approach may work for the politicians who just want attention and thrive on division. But it won't work for us. To make progress on the things we care about, the things that really affect people's lives, we need to remember that we've all got our blind spots and contradictions and prejudices, and that if we want to win over those who aren't yet ready to support our candidates, we need to listen to their concerns and maybe learn something in the process. After all, if a parent or grandparent occasionally says something that makes us cringe, we don't automatically assume they're bad people. We recognize that the world is moving fast, that they need time and maybe a little encouragement to catch up. Our fellow citizens deserve the same grace we hope they'll extend to us. That's how we can build a true democratic majority, one that can get things done. And by the way, that does not just matter to the people in this country. The rest of the world is watching to see if we can actually pull this off. No nation, no society has ever tried to build a democracy as big and as diverse as ours before. One that includes people that over decades have come from every corner of the globe. One where our allegiances and our community are defined not by race or blood, but by a common creed. And that's why when we uphold our values, the world's a little brighter. When we don't, the world's a little dimmer. And dictators and autocrats feel emboldened. And over time, we become less safe. We shouldn't be the world's policemen, and we can't eradicate every cruelty and injustice in the world. But America can be and must be a force for good. Discouraging conflict, fighting disease, promoting human rights, protecting the planet from climate change, defending freedom, brokering peace. That's what Kamala Harris believes, and so do most Americans. Now, I know these ideas can feel pretty naive right now. We live in a time of such confusion and rancor, with a culture that puts a premium on things that don't last. Money, fame, status, likes. We chase the approval of strangers on our phones. We build all manner of walls and fences around ourselves, and then we wonder why we feel so alone. We don't trust each other as much because we don't take the time to know each other. And in that space between us, politicians and algorithms teach us to caricature each other and troll each other and fear each other. But here's the good news, Chicago. All across America, in big cities and small towns, away from all the noise, the ties that bind us together are still there. We still coach Little League and look out for our elderly neighbors. We still feed the hungry in churches and mosques and synagogues and temples. We share the same pride when our Olympic athletes compete for the gold. Because the vast majority of us do not want to live in a country that's bitter and divided. We want something better. We want to be better. And the joy and the excitement that we're seeing around this campaign tells us we're not alone. You know, I've spent a lot of time thinking about these past few months because, as Michelle mentioned, this summer we lost her mom, Ms. Marion Robinson. And I don't know that anybody has ever loved their mother-in-law any more than I love mine. Mostly it's because she was funny and wise and the least pretentious person I knew. That, and she always defended me with Michelle when I messed up. I'd hide behind her. But I also think one of the reasons Mary and I became so close was she reminded me of my grandmother, the woman who helped raise me as a child. And on the surface, the two of them did not have a lot in common. One was a black woman from right here, south side of Chicago, right down the way. Went to Englewood High School. The other was a little old white lady born in a tiny town called Peru, Kansas. Now, I know there aren't that many people from Peru. And yet they shared a basic outlook on life. They were strong, smart, resourceful women, full of common sense, who, regardless of the barriers they encountered, and women growing up in the 40s and 50s and 60s, they encountered barriers. They still went about their business without fuss or complaint and provided an unshakable foundation of love for their children and their grandchildren. In that sense, they both represented an entire generation of working people who, through war and depression, discrimination and limited opportunity, helped build this country. A lot of them toiled every day at jobs that were often too small for them and didn't pay a lot. They willingly went without just to keep a roof over their families' heads, just to give their children something better. But they knew what was true. They knew what mattered. Things like honesty and integrity, kindness and hard work. They weren't impressed with braggarts or bullies. They didn't think putting other people down lifted you up or made you strong. They didn't spend a lot of time obsessing about what they didn't have. Instead, they appreciated what they did. They found pleasure in simple things. A card game with friends, a good meal, and laughter around the kitchen table. Helping others. And most of all, seeing their children do things and go places that they would have never imagined for themselves. Whether you are a Democrat or a Republican or somewhere in between, we have all had people like that in our lives. People like Kamala's parents, who crossed oceans because they believed in the promise of America. People like Tim's parents, who taught him about the importance of service. Good, hard-working people who weren't famous or powerful, but who managed in countless ways to leave this country just a little bit better than they found it. As much as any policy or program, I believe that's what we yearn for. A return to an America where we work together and look out for each other. A restoration of what Lincoln called, on the eve of Civil War, our bonds of affection. An America that taps what he called the better angels of our nature. That is what this election is about. And I believe that's why if we each do our part over the next 77 days, if we knock on doors, if we make phone calls, if we talk to our friends, if we listen to our neighbors, if we work like we've never worked before, if we hold firm to our convictions, we will elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States and Tim Walz as the next vice president of the United States. We will elect leaders up and down the ballot who will fight for the hopeful, forward-looking America we all believe in. And together, we too will build a country that is more secure and more just, more equal, and more free. So let's get to work. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.
Well, what a way to finish off day number 2. Extraordinary, extraordinary speech from former President Barack Obama. Different in every way from everything that we saw at the RNC. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Just so different in every way. Laying out the stakes, laying out a positive vision. I know we've been saying positive vision a lot lately, but he really, really did. And what a day 2, and just a very deep bullpen right now on the Democratic side. That is, it's really something else, really something else. Folks, if you're heading out, do me a quick favor. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel before you leave. You know, we're trying to get the number of followers and subscribers up. It costs nothing, and I would really appreciate it if you did that before you head out. We will be back tomorrow, of course, with day 3. Thank you so much to everyone who got a membership on my website. You can still do that using the code DNCNotWeird. DNCNotWeird. An extraordinary series of speeches, and I look forward to seeing everybody back here tomorrow. See you then.